What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
5MP. Chapter 91. Urahara Store, 5/5. Advertise here. Zaraki Kenpachi said, "What are you two arguing about? Do you want to be beaten?" After Zaraki Kenpachi spoke, Madarame Makaku and Abarai Renji both stopped and stayed aside obediently. Zaraki Kenpachi pointed to Abarai Renji and said, "You, come out." Abarai Renji stood up excitedly and said, "Captain, can I really take part in this operation?" If Abarai Renji knew that in addition to dealing with Qian Ye, he would also bring Rukia Kuchiki back to be tortured, I wonder if he could still be so excited. Zaraki Kenpachi said, "This time so many of our captains were dispatched, you can only watch the show if you follow." "Then what do you want me to do? Do you think I and Qian Ye are in the same group? Although I admire Qian Ye, I am not familiar with him." Zaraki Kenpachi said, "Captain Kuchiki wants to transfer you from me to his 6th Division team. How about it? Would you like to go?" Zaraki Kenpachi felt that Abarai Renji would reject Byakuya Kuchiki. After all, Abarai Renji was a member of the 11th squad. Unexpectedly, Abarai Renji looked at Byakuya Kuchiki excitedly and said, "Captain Kuchiki, is this true?" Byakuya Kuchiki nodded. "Since you have applied to me many times and want to join the 6th Division team, I happen to be missing a deputy captain, so come on." Zaraki Kenpachi was taken aback. No wonder Byakuya Kuchiki was so confident. It turned out that Abarai Renji, a guy who eats inside and out, applied to Byakuya Kuchiki by himself. Certainly. 23 If Abarai Renji wants to leave by himself, Zaraki Kenpachi will not stop him. When Abarai Renji saw him, not only could he be transferred to the 6th Division team, but he could still be the deputy captain, so he was so excited. "Thank you Captain Kuchiki, Captain Zaraki Since you want to go to the 6th Division, then go, but after you go to the 6th Division, don't shame us on the 11th Division." "Thank you Captain Zaraki." Madarame Makaku stepped forward and patted Abarai Renji on the shoulder, and said, "Remember, don't shame the 11th squad, otherwise I will beat you no matter which squad's deputy captain you are." "Don't worry, I won't be ashamed of you, Teacher Yhwach. If this is the case, then follow me. Although you are promoted from the 11th division, you still need to follow the rules and conduct the team assessment. With your strength, the team assessment is just a cutscene." Abarai Renji said excitedly, "I will perform well and will not disappoint Captain Kuchiki." The reason why Abarai Renji is so excited is because of one person. That's right, that person is Rukia Kuchiki. Abarai Renji has always had a goal, and that is to defeat, or surpass Byakuya Kuchiki. In order to prove himself to Rukia Kuchiki, it proves that even if he was born in Rukongai, he can surpass nobles. Of course, the responsibility that Abarai Renji wants to surpass is not simple. That is the Kuchiki family, one of the 4 upper-class nobles, and the 28th generation head Byakuya Kuchiki. 2 hours later, Byakuya Kuchiki brought in Aizen Sōsuke and Hitsugaya Toshiro to witness Abarai Renji's entrance examination together. The reason why Aizen Sōsuke was invited is of course needless to say. In Byakuya Kuchiki and Aizen Sōsuke and Hitsugaya Toshiro, Abarai Renji was in the team assessment. The broken bee came all the way, in the room above the secret room where Qian Ye hid the spiritual bomb. Then, broken bee stood in the room without moving, the mechanism in the room opened by itself, and then a passage leading to the secret room appeared. The broken bee went down, and then into the secret room. Afterwards, a figure slowly appeared in front of Broken Bee. This figure is naturally Ichimaru Jin. In order not to attract attention, Ichimaru Jin wore a spirit mask with Kido bent light and took the Broken Bee all the way to here. "I have to go, otherwise it will attract Aizen Sōsuke's attention." Broken Bee said. "Yin, Qian Ye said we can trust you, will you let us down?" Ichimaru Jin said. "Captain Broken Bee, when you came to me and asked me to bring you here, didn't you already have the answer?" Broken Bee said. "You go, if you are exposed, we are all exposed, then everything we do will be meaningless." Ichimaru Jin made a motion to put on a hat, and then disappeared in front of Broken Bee. Broken Bee was surprised at the large number of spiritual bombs in front of him, if it hadn't been known about Aizen Sōsuke's plan. After the Broken Bee witnessed Qian Ye secretly keeping nearly 1,000 powerful spiritual bombs, she might once again question Qian Ye as an existence that poses a huge threat to Soul Society. Of course, even if he knew that Qian Ye was framed by Aizen Sōsuke before. Broken Bee still couldn't figure out why Qian Ye secretly left so many spiritual bombs. You know that the power of the spiritual bomb is huge, this is nearly 1,000. If something happens, the consequences will be unimaginable. Broken Bee shook his head, and shook off the cranky thoughts in his mind. What I have to do now is not to think about Qian Ye, but to think about how to use these spiritual bombs. This world, Karakura town. After Rukia Kuchiki was driven away by Byakuya Kuchiki, he came to Kurosaki Ichigo. "Rukia, who are these people?" Rukia Kuchiki said. "They are Shinigami from Soul Society, just like me." Kurosaki Ichigo was surprised. "So Rukia, you are so strong." Rukia Kuchiki is a little embarrassed. Although she thinks she is not weak, she can't compare with those people just now. Just when Rukia Kuchiki didn't know how to answer Kurosaki Ichigo. A familiar voice sounded by Rukia Kuchiki. Ms. Rukia, long time no see. Qian Ye, you haven't returned to Soul Society. I will stay in this world for the time being. During this period, I will live in the Urahara store. If there is anything wrong with Mr. Rukia, you can come to me. Rukia Kuchiki was naturally happy to hear that Qian Ye would stay in this world. Qian Ye is undoubtedly very strong. With Qian Ye here, Rukia Kuchiki will feel relieved unconsciously. Rukia Kuchiki asked, my business. Qian Ye said, come to the Urahara store tonight, let's talk slowly. After Qian Ye finished speaking, he walked towards Urahara Kazuki and Unohana Retsu who were waiting not far away. Rukia Kuchiki was even more happy to see that Unohana Retsu had also stayed in this world. She can't wait to follow up right away, but she also knows that she needs to explain to her friends in this world, Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu. Who told these people to be hers? She doesn't explain, who will explain? Urahara Kazuki store, Tessai Tsukubishi, Hanakari Jinda, and Jingwu Yu all looked at Qian Ye blankly. They left first, and when they returned to the store, they had already seen Qian Ye's lost strength. Manager, Qian Ye said. Oh, how are the two kids? Zaiwayu raised his head, staring at Qian Ye curiously and asked. Little brother, how old are you? Qian Ye said. It's almost 17. Regarding Jinwuyu and Hanakari Jinda, these two children who work in stores in Urahara Kazuki, Qian Ye has always been suspicious of the identities of these two people. First of all, the two are not Shinigami, because neither of them has zanpakuto. Then, the two should be normal living residents, which is obvious. So, what are the identities of these two people? Qian Ye intends to take this opportunity to find Urahara Kazuki to clarify this matter. Wow, so small. Then why are you so strong? Hanakari Jinda also asked, you look better than our store manager. How did you do it? You are less than 17 years old, and our store manager is already hurting. Obviously, Hanakari Jinda was taught by Urahara Kazuki. 503. I think the yard is very dirty, are you too lazy? Hanakari Jinda and Jinwuyu walked out unwillingly, and Jinwuyu picked up the broom in the corner and began to sweep the leaves in the yard. Hanakari Jinda was leaning against the wall, trying to eavesdrop on the conversation in the room. However, Hanakari Jinda could not hear it. Because Tessai Tsukubishi has already placed a Keto enchantment in the house. Qian Ye saw that Urahara Kazuki was so prepared for Hanakari Jinda and Jinwuyu, and he became more curious about the identity of these two children. Urahara Kazuki looked at Qian Ye and said, can you please introduce yourself first? Qian Ye said. I, Qian Ye, the original 4th Division team member. Forehead. After learning that Qian Ye is a member of the 4th Division, Urahara Kazuki and Tessai Tsukubishi looked at each other, and they both saw surprise in each other's eyes. Obviously, both of them feel unbelievable. Qian Ye's strength is so strong, he should be an official no matter how. When Tusen Kanami explained the matter, he only said what Aizen Sōsuke had done against Qian Ye. As for the details of Qian Ye's position change, he naturally did not say. Captain Ujihua, Mr. Qian Ye is so strong, how can you let him be a team member? Isn't this a poor talent? Urahara Kazuki said and looked at Qian Ye and said, Mr. Qian Ye, or you can stay here forever, I can let you be the deputy store manager. Qian Ye smiled and said, then you will be responsible for buying and selling goods for you. Urahara Kazuki also smiled and said, Mr. Qian Ye, you are so humorous. Qian Ye said, Manager Urahara, the time is urgent now. I want to borrow your underground place for cultivation. If you have any questions, please ask Sister Wa directly. Urahara Kazuki was surprised. How do you know me here? Qian Ye said. Time is urgent. Okay. Tessai Tsukubishi, you take Qian Ye underground. After Qian Ye came to the basement of Urahara's shop, he crossed his knees into the sword meditation. Chapter 92. The Method of Cracking. The Realm of Spiritual Power. 1/5. Advertise here. After Qian Ye came to the underground of Urahara Kazuki store, he first released Zanpakuto Shikai. Then, Qian Ye found a hill here and sat cross-legged on the top of the hill. Subsequently, Wuming Zanpakuto was placed horizontally on his knees, pressing the middle of the knife with one hand and the tail of the knife with the other. Close your eyes and concentrate. Qian Ye successfully entered the Zanpakuto space. Qian Ye Zanpakuto space. Now Mimi showed up and walked over to Qian Ye, her pretty face with a little apologize. Qian Ye, sorry, I was too careless at the time. Qian Ye said. Don't blame you, I'm the one who cares. What should we do now? Qian Ye was not afraid of Aizen Sōsuke before, because Miki now did not become a prisoner of Kyoka Suigetsu. Even if Qian Ye is affected by Kyoka Suigetsu hypnosis, Miki now can also advance Qian Ye directly in Qian Ye's heart. Now Miki now has also become a prisoner of Kyoka Suigetsu, this method does not work. Qian Ye said. By the way, I liberated your third form, what does it look like? Originally, with your current spiritual power, it is impossible to liberate my third form, and I don't know how you did it. Now Miki's words were full of surprise, and she obviously couldn't figure out why. Qian Ye smiled in his heart. Of course he wouldn't tell now Miki that he was unlocked with a reward. So, what exactly is your third form? Now Mihime said. Come on, enter the mind meditation space with me. Qian Ye nodded, and then sat cross-legged with Now Mickey. The two sat cross-legged facing each other, watching each other's nose and nose. Inside the mind Zen space, Qian Ye discovered that Mickey now did not appear in a human form, but as Qian Ye did when she liberated Mickey Now's real name for the first time, floating in front of Qian Ye in the form of an immemorable zanpakuto. Now Mickey's voice resounded in Qian Ye's heart. Now, liberate me in the first form. Qian Ye nodded, grabbing the wooming zanpakuto that Mickey now turned into in front of him, and then held it horizontally in front of him. Let's dance. Now Mimiheim. As Qian Ye sang Jifangyu, the wooming zanpakuto in Qian Ye's hand changed. It turned into a long sword with patterns and no inscriptions engraved on the darts, and the blade was transparent. Now Mihime's voice resounded in Qian Ye's heart again. Now, liberate my second form. Qian Ye hugged zanpakuto to his heart and chanted the liberation language again. Show me. Now Mimiheim. The zanpakuto in Qian Ye's arms dissipated as a spiritual child, and then transformed into a human form of Now Mihime. Noshue Mihime did not leave Qian Ye's arms this time, but hugged Qian Ye tightly. Qian Ye was wondering what Noshue Mahim meant, and just listened to her. Qian Ye, close your eyes, feel my heart, and merge with my soul. Quote. After Qian Ye closed his eyes, Qian Ye found that he could feel the heartbeat of Noshue Mickey that was close to him, which had never happened before. Qian Ye just hugged Now Mickey like this, and I don't know how long it has passed. Maybe many years, maybe only a moment. Qian Ye finally truly felt Now Mickey's heart. At this time, Now Mi's voice sounded. Now, Qian Ye, sing my third form of liberation language. Qian Ye opened his eyes, looked at the pretty face of Now Mihime who was close at hand, and whispered. Go back to 1. Now Mimiheim. As Qian Ye chanted the Jifangyu, Mickey Now in Qian Ye's arms disappeared. But, Qian Ye could still feel Now Mickey's heartbeat, and it came even more intensely than when Now Mickey was tightly clinging to Qian Ye's arms. At the same time, Qian Ye had a lot of information in his mind that he had never had before. After Qian Ye read the information, he found the extra information. It is the use of creative power. Qian Ye Yishi, it turns out that the third form of Now Mimiheim is the heart fusion of Qian Ye and Now Mimiheim. In order to gain Now Mihime's current power, Qian Ye pointed his hand forward, releasing his spiritual power towards the front. Where Qian Ye pointed, Qian Ye's spiritual power was first dispersed into spiritual children, and then reorganized at a very fast speed. According to Qian Ye's mind, the reorganized spirit sun transformed into a spiritual wall. Speaking a lot, in fact, the spiritual power wall was formed at the moment Qian Ye pointed it out. This is creation. Qian Ye was very excited and continued to try his creative ability. With a wave of Qian Ye's hand, dozens of spirit swords appeared in front of Qian Ye, and then shot towards the spiritual wall. Brush, brush, brush. The spiritual wall was stabbed into a hedgehog by dozens of spiritual swords swung by Qian Ye. Qian Ye raised his hand and waved it forward. In the air, a spiritual meteorite crashed in front of Qian Ye, and then exploded, causing a terrible explosion. After some attempts, Qian Ye had an understanding of the power of his current form. Qian Ye needs to consume spiritual energy when creating. The larger the object created, the more spiritual power will be consumed. And the stronger the attack created, the more spiritual power needs to be consumed. In order to increase the attack power created, there is another way besides increasing spiritual power. That is to promote Reiatsu. The higher the Reiatsu used, the stronger the attack power created by Qian Ye. In the past, Qian Ye and Now Mihime practiced. Every time Qian Ye is crushed by Now Mickey, it is because Now Mickey uses the creative power that Qian Ye can only master after she liberates Now Mickey's third form. And, in Now Mickey's state of unity, Qian Ye found that he could continuously and automatically restore spiritual power. Qian Ye remembered that Now Mihime wanted to maintain the second form. When she stayed in the Mao Spiritual Academy, Qian Ye told Qian Ye that she could continuously absorb the spirits around to restore her own spiritual power, so that Qian Ye's spiritual power was not consumed. It seemed that Qian Ye was in Now Mimi's unified state, and Now Mickey absorbed the spirit child's ability to restore spiritual power and applied it to Qian Ye. Very good, now my strength has become stronger again. But how can I crack Kyoka Suigetsu's ability? Qian Ye fell into thinking. At this time, Qian Ye's mind sounded a system prompt. You liberate Naomi Heim's third form for the first time and get a hidden event reward, spiritual power plus 200. You successfully unlocked all the Shikai forms of Now Mihime, and get the hidden event reward, spiritual power domain. Yep, spiritual field. Qian Ye immediately checked what the spiritual power field rewarded by the system was. Spiritual power domain. Release Reiatsu to form a spiritual power domain. In the spiritual power domain, you can perceive everything and explore everything. After knowing what spiritual power domain is, Qian Ye smiled. Isn't this what Kyoka Suigetsu specializes in dealing with Aizen Sōsuke? Ha ha ha, system I love you. Qian Ye immediately tried to open the spiritual power domain. Qian Ye found that the size of the domain was affected by Qian Ye's spiritual power, and maintaining the spiritual power domain required constant consumption of spiritual power. However, Qian Ye found a bug. If Qian Ye opens up the realm of spiritual power in Now Mihime's third form. When Qian Ye opened the spiritual power domain within a radius of 1000 meters. Now Mihime helped Qian Ye absorb the spirit child to restore his spiritual power, just enough to offset the spiritual power consumption of maintaining the spiritual power domain. If the range of the spiritual power field opened by Qian Ye exceeds a radius of 1 kilometer, then Now Mihime will not be able to keep up with the speed at which Qian Ye can restore spiritual power. Very good, now a way to crack Aizen Sōsuke Kyoka Suigetsu has been found. Qian Ye exits the mind meditation space. Sitting cross-legged opposite Qian Ye and Now Mihime opened their eyes at the same time. Qian Ye smiled and said, "You should too." Nayuki Mihime shook her head. "Although I know you suddenly learned this trick in the spiritual power domain, I can't use this trick." "Why?" Now Mihime said, "I don't know, maybe it's because I am zanpakuto." After Qian Ye withdrew from the state of mind Zen, he suddenly sensed that there was someone in front of him in reality. Qian Ye woke up from the state of sword Zen. As soon as Qian Ye opened his eyes, he found that Unohana Retsu was standing in front of him and looking at him. "Sister Wa, why are you here?" Unohana Retsu said, "I don't worry about Urahara Kazuki, so I'm here to guard you." Qian Ye said, "Thank you Sister Wa for your concern. You were so kind to me." Unohana Retsu remembered the rumors she had heard in Saraiti, and quickly turned her back to Qian Ye. Because she blushed, flushed like a red apple, and she seemed to make people feel the urge to rush to take a bite. Unfortunately, Qian Ye could not see this scenery. "Lee's good," Qian Ye said. "Sister Wa, in fact, Mr. Urahara can be trusted." Unohana Retsu calmed down the throbbing in her heart, and after her complexion returned to normal, she turned to look at Qian Ye. "Qian Ye, isn't it the first time you see Urahara Kazuki? How do you look at you, as if you know him well?" "Ah-ha." Unohana Retsu saw Qian Ye's eyes dodge, knowing that Qian Ye was thinking of an excuse to lie to her. Then, Qian Ye couldn't prevent him, and saw Unohana Retsu's entire pretty face leaning toward him, son. The faces of the two were almost close to each other. Qian Ye could even clearly feel the heat exhaling from Unohana Retsu's mouth and smell her fragrance. Unohana Retsu held Qian Ye's eyes tightly, and said, "You obviously came here for the first time, but you know that it is here under the Urahara store. Now you are saying that Urahara Kazuki can be trusted. Obviously you are only doing it to Urahara Kazuki. Introduced himself, and Urahara Kazuki didn't even introduce him to you." Qian Ye did not hear what Unohana Retsu said. Because Qian Ye was attracted by Unohana Retsu's close lips. "Brother Qian Ye, Sister Mao Zihua, have dinner." At this time, there was a soft voice from the entrance of the house Rain because of his timid temperament. Unohana Retsu didn't know if he was frightened, and suddenly leaned forward. Her lips pressed against Qian Ye's. Chapter 93. Accidentally, the first kiss is gone. 2/5. Advertise here. Upon seeing this, Zaiwayu wanted to ask Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu what they were doing, but was pulled up by someone covering their mouths. Urahara Kazuki said, "Children are not allowed to watch, go, let's eat first." Underground. Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu didn't react for a while, staring at each other with wide-eyed eyes. Until Qian Ye felt Unohana Retsu's warm lips, and took a hard peck under the help of the ghost. Unohana Retsu's pretty face turned red in an instant. She pushed Qian Ye away, and said with a sigh, "Qian Ye, what are you doing?" Qian Ye recalled the taste just now. "Wow, it's so sweet, I really want to come again." "Ahem, what? I want to ask Sister Wa, why are you kissing me suddenly?" "That was my first kiss." Qian Ye said, pretending to be heartbroken. "I've been holding the first kiss for almost 17 years, so I was ruthlessly taken away by Sister Wa." Unohana Retsu pointed at Qian Ye, trembling with anger. It was obvious that she was at a disadvantage, so why in Qian Ye's mouth, she took advantage of Qian Ye's. "You and me, I am also the first kiss." Wow, this is something Qian Ye didn't expect, and he didn't expect Unohana Retsu, who had lived for thousands of years, to still kiss her for the first time. Wouldn't it be a pure mushroom girl? Qian Ye's eyes turned and said, "In this case, then we will be even." Unohana Retsu stopped talking, and finally gave up. "You lost your first kiss and get a hidden event reward. Spiritual power plus 100. You took the first kiss of Unohana Retsu, and you get a hidden event reward, template upgrade card X1. Qian Ye was taken aback, and the reward for taking Unohana Retsu's first kiss turned out to be a template upgrade card. So if 503 takes Unohana Retsu for the first time, will it be rewarded with a super template upgrade card? Hey, what are you thinking about? Unohana Retsu felt extremely impure thoughts in Qian Ye's eyes. Qian Ye saw that he was found, and after an awkward cough, he said, "Sister Wa, let's go up." "Why, did you find a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu?" Qian Ye nodded. Any solution. At that time, you will know about Sister Wa." Seeing Qian Ye refused to tell her, Unohana Retsu thought for a while and said, "Also, if I know how to deal with Aizen's hypnosis, it would be no good for me to leak." Qian Ye did not explain, and took the lead to leave the underground and came to the Urahara store above. At this time, Urahara Kazuki and others were eating. Xiaoyu looked at Qian Ye and was about to ask something, but Urahara Kazuki caught a chicken leg and stuffed it into her mouth. Come on, have another chicken drumstick. After Urahara Kazuki finished this, he turned to look at Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu and said, come on, sit down and eat. Qian Ye said, Mr. Urahara, Sister Wa and I are still in Shinigami state. We can't eat your worldly things. Look, I forgot about it. 10 minutes later, Qian Ye twisted his neck. It turned out that this is the feeling of staying in the corpse. Unohana Retsu on the side also has Yiwu. Of course, both of them were provided free of charge by Urahara Kazuki. That night, when Rukia Kuchiki came to the Urahara store, Qian Ye was in the yard in front of the store, fighting the landlords with Hanakari Jinda and Jingwuyu. At this time, the faces of Hanakari Jinda and Sidage were covered with notes. After losing again, Hanakari Jinda was unwilling to say, ah. Why, Qian Ye, why do you win every time? It feels like you know the cards in my hand. She nodded vigorously, and she felt the same way. Unohana Retsu smiled and walked over. He just knows the cards in your hands. Jing Wuyu raised his head and looked at Unohana Retsu and said, I'm sitting opposite Qian Ye's brother, and I hide the cards very well. How does he know what card I have in my hand? Rukia Kuchiki also listened curiously. Could Qian Ye see through? Unohana Retsu explained. I can perceive it with Reiatsu. Rukia Kuchiki was taken aback. Can Reiatsu still be used like this? Qian Ye looked at Rukia Kuchiki. Mr. Rukia, do you want to come and play together? Rukia Kuchiki waved his hand. I don't want to be covered with papers all over my face. Ha ha ha, you can also use Reiatsu to perceive my cards. In this way, the comparison is luck. I won't, and I don't have spiritual power now. Oh, sorry. Rukia Kuchiki came to Qian Ye's side. Qian Ye, can you help me see, why can't I recover my spiritual power now? Urahara Kazuki, who was leaning at the door, didn't panic. Qian Ye wouldn't say anything. But unexpectedly, Qian Ye said, I know. Rukia Kuchiki saw that Qian Ye knew the reason, and immediately asked excitedly. Really, can you tell me the reason? I want to regain my spiritual strength before being blamed by Soul Society. Qian Ye said, isn't it because you gave your spiritual power to the boy who defeated Manos Grande? Rukia Kuchiki was a little disappointed with Qian Ye's answer. My spiritual power at the time was indeed completely absorbed by Kurosaki Ichigo, but I shouldn't be able to recover my spiritual power. That's not clear. After all, I haven't encountered that kind of situation. Rukia Kuchiki sighed, and said, hey, it seems that I will be taken back by Soul Society to ask for guilt soon. Qian Ye said, do you know why Soul Society does not allow Shinigami to give Shinigami power to the residents of this world? Rukia Kuchiki shook his head. I only know that this is a first-degree felony set by Soul Society. The so-called first-degree felony, the most serious sentence, is to be executed. This is also the reason why Byakuya Kuchiki did not raise objections after learning that Rukia Kuchiki was sentenced to death, no matter what his heart was. Because that is the crime committed by Rukia Kuchiki, and indeed may be punished. Qian Ye saw that Rukia Kuchiki didn't know about Shinigami, the original agent, so he didn't mention it. Now, telling Rukia Kuchiki about this is equivalent to telling Kurosaki Ichigo in advance. As for Kurosaki Ichigo, he is not currently acting as Shinigami. Ms. Rukia, you committed a first-degree felony this time, what do you plan to do next? Rukia Kuchiki said, She originally wanted to restore her spiritual power before Soul Society knew about it, and then went back to Soul Society to hide the matter. Now, not only was she unable to regain her spiritual power, she was also known by the sudden arrival of Byakuya Kuchiki and others. Rukia Kuchiki didn't know what to do, so he came to Qian Ye to find a way. By the way, Qian Ye, why on earth did you suddenly come to this world? Before Byakuya Kuchiki and others returned to Soul Society, they had already given Qian Ye a reason for staying in this world. Captain Kuritsuchi Mayuri suddenly monitored the emergence of Jillian in the world, so he sent us to the world to support. One Manos Grande won't dispatch multiple captains, and why are you and Captain Tucson? Qian Ye said. Mr. Rukia, when you return to Soul Society, naturally everything will be clear. Soul Society. Saraiti. Abarai Renji successfully passed the assessment and was promoted from the 6th seat of the 11th Division to the Deputy Captain of the 6th Division. At the same time, a big event has happened to Soul Society. Qian Ye secretly stored the murderous stones in the secret room with nearly 1,000 spiritual power bombs, and those nearly 1,000 spiritual power bombs have hidden safety hazards at any time. After learning about the incident, Captain Yamamoto Motoyasasai Shigekuni immediately ordered the people from Kido and the Spiritual Academy to deal with it. Therefore, the Reiatsu, who was going to fight in the world, was isolated from the captains and was temporarily set aside. The 5th Division Team House. Tucson Konami is here. The Kido people and the people from the Spiritual Academy have now been transferred away. This is obviously a trick played by Byakuya Kuchiki and others. The purpose is to buy time for the present Qian Ye. Tucson Konami said. Aizen Sōsuke did not panic at all. Although I don't believe that Qian Ye can come up with a way to break Kyoka Suigetsu, but they want to use this method to delay time, they look down on my IQ too much. Do you have a way? Aizen Sōsuke smiled and said, Since we can't do anything with Qian Ye for the time being, then we can go directly to Rukia Kuchiki and do it. Then, Aizen Sōsuke made suggestions to the captain. Because Reiatsu's isolation setting could not be completed for the time being, the action against Qian Ye could be postponed. But, you can send the deputy captain who suppressed Reiatsu to the world first. Take back the Shinigami power Kurosaki Ichigo got from Rukia Kuchiki, and bring Rukia Kuchiki back to Soul Society for trial. After thinking about it, Yamamoto Motoinagisai Shigekuni agreed to Aizen Sōsuke's proposal. The 6th Division Team House. Byakuya Kuchiki had a calm face. He never expected Aizen Sōsuke to make such a proposal, and the captain agreed. In this way, the method he and Broken Bee came up with not only failed to buy Qian Ye more time. Instead, it makes things more urgent. Qian Ye now has less time left. Because, if according to the original plan, Qian Ye still has at least 5 days. And now, according to the command of the captain. Today, 2 deputy captains will be elected, and tomorrow they will be dispatched to the world to bring Rukia Kuchiki back. If Rukia Kuchiki was brought back to Soul Society, it would be useless for them to delay the time for combat operations against Qian Ye. The Broken Bee on the side said, Captain Kuchiki, you are careless and messy. Once Rukia is brought back to the Soul Society, it doesn't matter whether we act against Qian Ye in this world or not, it's useless. Aizen Sōsuke will definitely try his best to get Rukia to accept colonization. Broken Bee said, with Qian Ye in this world, can the 2 deputy captains bring Rukia back? Byakuya Kuchiki was taken aback, then his expression stretched. Not to mention the 2 deputy captains, even if all the deputy captains are dispatched, I am afraid they will not be able to bring Rukia Kuchiki back in Qian Ye's hands. Chapter 94. 2 deputy captains, can you give me Qian Ye a face, 3/5. Advertise here. In the evening the next day. This world. Karakura town. Near Kurosaki Ichigo's house, a piercing gate opened, and 2 Shinigami walked out of the piercing gate. The 2 Shinigami, a man and a woman, both carry the deputy captain's badge on their arms. The female Shinigami is very short, only about 1.5 meters. She tied her hair into a bag with a white cloth, and she looked soft, frail. The male Shinigami is very tall, and the nearly 1.9 meter tall is in stark contrast with the short female Shinigami beside him. His bright red hair was tied into the sky by a hairband, and there were many blue lines on his brow, giving a sharp-edged feeling. However, the look on his face at this time was different from the sharp-edged appearance. His face was heavy that others could not understand. That's right. The 2 deputy captains dispatched by Soul Society to perform tasks in this world are Hinamori Momo, deputy captain of the 5th Division, and Abarai Renji, who has just been promoted from the 11th Division to the 6th Division deputy captain. Renji, I have already sensed the Reiatsu in front of me. Hinamori Momo said, pointing to the illuminated Kurosaki Hospital in front. Kurosaki Hospital. It seems that this is the home of the young man named Kurosaki Ichigo who captured the power of Ms. Rukia Shinigami. Abarai Renji replied dully, oh. As expected to be Captain Nirvana, the crossing gate opened under his label is so precise. Renji, let's do it. First take back the Shinigami power that Kurosaki Ichigo took away from Miss Rukia. Abarai Renji said. I didn't perceive Rukia Kuchiki's Reiatsu. Hinamori Momo said. Didn't Captain Aizen and Captain Kuchiki tell me, Ms. Rukia's Shinigami power was taken away by a boy named Kurosaki Ichigo? You can't perceive that Ms. Rukia's Reiatsu is normal. The power of Shinigami is the spiritual power in our body. Have you seen any Shinigami's spiritual power that cannot be recovered after being taken away? Abarai Renji paused and continued. I don't think we should act rashly. There must be something hidden in it that we don't know. Hinamori Momo raised owned with a little excitement, but this is the order of Captain Aizen and Captain. Hinamori Momo placed Aizen Sōsuke in front of the captain, which is enough to see how much Aizen Sōsuke has in her heart. In fact, when Hinamori Momo set off for the present world, Aizen Sōsuke called her aside and gave her a kind encouragement, saying that she believed she would be able to complete the task well. At that time, Hinamori Momo squeezed his small fist and promised, Captain Aizen, I will not let you down. Kurosaki Hospital. Kurosaki Ichigo, who was fighting for food with Kurosaki Isshin, stopped his chopsticks and looked out the window. Kurosaki Isshin narrowed the mean smile on his face and looked at Kurosaki Natsuri who also looked out the window. Kurosaki Yuzu, who was persuading Kurosaki Ichigo and Kurosaki Isshin not to grab the food, saw that the atmosphere suddenly went wrong and looked out the window. It is a pity that Kurosaki Yuzu's spiritual power is too low. She did not perceive Abarai Renji and Hinamori Momo who are still walking towards here not far away. Upstairs, Kurosaki Ichigo's room. Rukia Kuchiki, who was waiting by the window for Kurosaki Ichigo to bring her food, was overjoyed when he watched Abarai Renji and Hinamori Momo approaching slowly. Rukia Kuchiki raised her hand to say hello, but saw Abarai Renji's expression wrong, and then she guessed the mission of Abarai Renji and Hinamori Momo this time. She hurriedly shrank back, but bumped into someone. She turned around and found that there was no one in front of her. Unohana Retsu lifted the Kido bent light that had been applied to the spirit mask from Urahara Kazuki, and then performed a silent motion on Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia Kuchiki looked at Unohana Retsu, who was suddenly dressed in a black robe. Although he was surprised, he nodded obediently. Downstairs. I'm full, I have something to go out. Kurosaki Ichigo finished the bowl of rice in 2 quick bites, then put down the bowl and chopsticks and walked out the door. Brother Ichigo, where are you going? Kurosaki Natsuri stood up worriedly. I'm going for a walk. You lie, you must be. At this moment, a very young and handsome face appeared at the window. Oh, it smells so good, can I eat rice? It's you. Kurosaki Ichigo looked warily at Qian Ye who appeared on the windowsill of his house. Isn't this the amazing young man he and Ishida Yulong saw from a distance that day? Qian Ye jumped slightly and jumped in. Ah, you still remember me, that's really great, it seems you don't mind if I eat rice. It's brother Ichigo's friend, I'm going to get the tableware. Kurosaki Sha Li grabbed Kurosaki Yuzu who wanted to get Qian Ye's tableware, and looked at Qian Ye warily. Who are you? What are you doing here? Qian Ye said. Little sister, don't be so fierce, too fierce that you can't get married when you grow up. When I grow up, you don't care about whether I will marry out or not. No, it's not right, who are you? At this time, Abarai Renji and Hinamori Momo have arrived at the entrance of Kurosaki Hospital, and they looked upstairs. Unohana Retsu has a spirit cover, Qian Ye can't perceive it when Qian Ye doesn't use spiritual power. Therefore, the two did not perceive Qian Ye and Reiatsu. Let's do it, you go to regain Kurosaki Ichigo's Shinigami power, I will go to Miss Rukia. Hinamori Momo. Although Abarai Renji was reluctant in his heart, this was the first task given by the captain himself after he was promoted to deputy captain of the 6th division. I'm going to find Rukia. Well, let's do it. Just as the two were about to enter Kurosaki Hospital, a shout came from behind. Who are you guys, what do you want to do here? But when Ishida Ryu, with one hand wrapped in a bandage and one hand carrying vegetables, passed by not far away, he sensed that the two of them were somewhat strong for him now, Reiatsu, and rushed over. Who are you? Can you see us? Hinamori Momo took a look at Ishida Ryu, and soon she felt Reiatsu in Ishida Ryu. You have Reiatsu on your body. Are you Kurosaki Ichigo who took away Shinigami's power from Rukia? Ishida Yulong was shocked, and the two of them came for Kurosaki Ichigo. Ishida Yuryu's bandaged hand helped his glasses, and said, yes, I am Kurosaki Ichigo. What do you want me to do? For flowers. The injury on his hand was caused by helping Kurosaki Ichigo to release excess spiritual power after he and Kurosaki Ichigo dealt with Manos Grande's Sero. Abarai Renji immediately looked at Ishida Ryu angrily. It was you who took away Rukia's Shinigami power, so she had to bring her back to Soul Society to be tortured. Ishida Yulong was surprised, Rukia Kuchiki is going to be brought back to Soul Society to be tortured. In this way, he made up his mind. He will lead these two people away. Yes, it's me, what do you want? Abarai Renji stared at Ishida Ryu, but without turning his head, he said to Hinamori Momo next to him. You should go to Rukia, remember not to hurt her. Hinamori Momo nodded, and when he was about to walk towards Kurosaki Hospital, he saw two people come out. It is Qian Ye and Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo said, Ishida, what are you doing? Ishida Yulong cursed. Idiot, you don't take Rukia Kuchiki to take the opportunity to escape. What are you going to do now? Point 0. Ishida, this is my business, you don't have to worry about it. Who cares about me, I'm just passing by. Even though Ishida Yulong said that, he didn't mean to leave. Ishida, isn't it Kurosaki Ichigo, I have become Ishida like this. Hinamori Momo said, Renji, this is Kurosaki Ichigo, and Qian Ye is here. Abarai Renji turned around and saw Qian Ye standing with a teenager. Qian Ye, you, Ichigo is my friend, no matter what you ask him for, can you give me some face? Hinamori Momo said, Qian Ye, you can't protect yourself now. You'd better not wipe your hands. Qian Ye said, Vice Captain Hinamori Momo, you mean you don't give me face? While Qian Ye spoke, he pressed Reiatsu towards Hinamori Momo. Hinamori Momo found that she couldn't move immediately. Sure enough, Qian Ye's Reiatsu was so terrifying. It is no wonder that this battle against Qian Ye requires many captains to act together. Hinamori Momo bit his lip fiercely, unwilling to his heart. She began to promise Captain Aizen, who trusted her so much, that she would complete the task. Qian Ye is here, how does she accomplish the task? What left Qian Ye speechless was that Hinamori Momo was unwilling to tears. How bad was Aizen Sōsuke this poor child? Of course, Qian Ye just thinks Hinamori Momo is stupid, but doesn't have much sympathy for her. Aizen Sōsuke just played a good captain in front of Hinamori Momo. Aizen Sōsuke did not use Kyoka Suigetsu's ability to interfere with Hinamori Momo's feelings for her. Therefore, Aizen Sōsuke just deceived Hinamori Momo's true face. Hinamori Momo has a deep affection for him. She is stupid, so she won't cry stupidly now. Vice Captain Hinamori Momo, Renji, now you two are willing to give me Qian Ye this face. Hinamori Momo bit his lip and didn't speak, while Abarai Renji looked behind Qian Ye and exclaimed with a bit of surprise. Rukia, are you okay? Fan. Chapter 95. Hugging the Invisible Sister Wa 4/5. Advertise here. Qian Ye saw that Kuchiki Luxichia came out, and put away Reiatsu who was oppressing Hinamori Momo. Qian Ye knows that since Rukia Kuchiki has come out, it means that Unohana Retsu has done Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia Kuchiki came to Renji, looked at the 6th Division Deputy Captain's badge on his shoulder, and said happily. Renji, congratulations on becoming the Deputy Captain, but why did you go to the 6th Division team? Abarai Renji was about to explain, but it was Hinamori Momo who resumed his movement next to him. Deputy Captain Abarai Renji, don't forget our mission, we are not here to make a routine. Abarai Renji pointed to Kurosaki Ichigo and said, Rukia told me that you gave him the power of Shinigami. There are difficulties, right? Rukia Kuchiki said, Renji, are you here to bring me back to Soul Society to ask the crime? No matter what I am in, I did commit a first-degree felony that Shinigami's power arbitrarily committed to the living residents. After speaking, Rukia Kuchiki looked towards Qian Ye. Qian Ye, thank you, but as Shinigami of Soul Society, I plan to go back and accept Soul Society's punishment. Qian Ye looked puzzled and said, Mr. Rukia, even if you return to Soul Society, you will be punished with a double, 5 and 7, death sentence. You don't want my help and insist on returning to Soul Society to collect the crime. Rukia Kuchiki nodded, besides Shinigami of Soul Society, I am also from the Kuchiki family. I cannot shame my brother and the Kuchiki family. Qian Ye said with disappointment on his face. In that case, then I understand, Teacher Rukia, I hope you don't regret the decision you made now. Thank you Qian Ye again, I won't regret it. After Qian Ye sighed, he turned around and left, and soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Hinamori Momo was overjoyed when he saw that Qian Ye had left just like that. Now that Qian Ye is gone, her mission this time should be completed. Hinamori Momo did not look at Kurosaki Ichigo, who had captured the power of Rukia Kuchiki Shinigami, and Ishida Ryu, who could perceive Reiatsu next to him. The current Ishida Ryu just has a good Reiatsu. The strength is roughly equivalent to that of Soul Society Gotei 13 with 7 to 5 seats. Kurosaki Ichigo has super high spiritual power, but now Kurosaki Ichigo has just gained the power of Shinigami, Reiatsu is not that high. Of course, the reason why Hinamori Momo doesn't put Kurosaki Ichigo in her eyes is because she only perceives that Kurosaki Ichigo's Reiatsu is not high, but she doesn't know how terrifying Kurosaki Ichigo's spiritual power is. Upstairs, Kurosaki Natsuri and Kurosaki Yuzu were both excused by Kurosaki Isshin and took them to a room where they could not be seen. Kurosaki Ichigo room. Unohana Retsu of Kido Bent Light was once again applied to the spirit mask he was wearing, and he was suddenly hugged from behind. Qian Ye, what are you doing? Qian Ye's voice came from behind Unohana Retsu. Ah, sorry, you are invisible now, I don't know you are here. Unohana Retsu believes Qian Ye is a ghost, Qian Ye is definitely deliberate. When she thought of the rumors she had accidentally heard from the female Shinigami Association members in the Soul Society before, she felt Qian Ye's hand holding her waist. I haven't felt it for thousands of years. No, when she kissed Qian Ye last time, she also felt unprecedented palpitations, but at that time she felt not as strong as it is now. Although Unohana Retsu did not expose Qian Ye, she felt that her heart was about to jump out, so she snorted. Now you know, you still don't let go. Qian Ye just let go. Seeing that Unohana Retsu was not angry, he felt a little excited and regretted. I knew that Unohana Retsu wouldn't be angry. He didn't hold Unohana Retsu's waist with his hands, but pretended not to know it. Qian Ye, why are you breathing so fast? Has something happened? Qian Ye coughed to cover up his embarrassment, and said, things are going well, let's watch the show next. After Qian Ye disappeared from the sight of Hinamori Momo and others, he released Kido Bent Light to himself, turned himself into an invisible person, and returned to Kurosaki Ichigo's room. After Qian Ye perceives the invisible Unohana Retsu's Reiatsu, he makes a cool joke. Now, Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu are standing by the window together, looking downstairs. Downstairs, Kurosaki Ichigo asked Rukia Kuchiki, Rukia, what is the double penalty? Rukia Kuchiki turned his head away from Kurosaki Ichigo. It's our Soul Society, a punishment for the crime Shinigami. At this time, Abarai Renji said loudly, Rukia, it was he who took away your Shinigami's power and killed you like this. In the end, you are still defending him. Kurosaki Ichigo heard from Abarai Renji's excited words that the punishment of double colonization might not be as blunt as Rukia Kuchiki said. So he asked, what is the punishment of Sokyoku? Abarai Renji said, you don't understand what I said, but I haven't seen any Shinigami who survived Sokyoku's punishment. Hiss. Will Rukia Kuchiki die, just because she gave herself the power of Shinigami? Kurosaki Ichigo said he could not understand. Upstairs, Qian Ye underestimated. Why don't you fight? Unohana Retsu said silently, why do you really want them to fight? Rukia Kuchiki just followed our plan and followed Renji to the Soul Society. Isn't it good? Qian Ye said. Ha ha ha, it would be boring if you don't fight. In fact, Qian Ye is worried that if the Shinigami power that Kurosaki Ichigo received from Rukia Kuchiki is not taken away in this incident, then Kurosaki Ichigo can't become stronger. Qian Ye is not afraid of changing the plot, but just wants to see with his own eyes how powerful Kurosaki Ichigo is in the later stage. Actually, regarding the setting of Shinigami power, Qian Ye has always felt that this may be a bug setting in Shinigami. In other words, it is an imprecise setting. The power of Shinigami should be spiritual power. Kurosaki Ichigo itself possesses high spiritual power. After absorbing the spiritual power of Rukia Kuchiki, he acquires the power of Shinigami. From then on, he was able to detach the soul from the body and turn into Shinigami to fight. After that, he was hit by Byakuya Kuchiki's flashing flower, and the knot and pursue were pierced, thus losing the power of Shinigami. After that, he awakened his power and regained the power of Shinigami. Then, in a decisive battle with Aizen, he lost the power of Shinigami again. At that time, Kurosaki Ichigo even gradually stopped seeing the surrounding spirits, which also shows that the power of Shinigami is actually spiritual power. Later, the captain lost his spiritual power to Rukia Kuchiki's sword, giving Kurosaki Ichigo the power of Shinigami again. This shows that the power of Shinigami is actually spiritual power. That being the case, why is Kurosaki Ichigo who has spiritual power before and is still very powerful? Why do you have the power of Shinigami after absorbing the spiritual power of Rukia Kuchiki? Moreover, Kurosaki Ichigo's zanpakuto is not obtained from Hazama, but while gaining the power of Shinigami, he also obtains his own zanpakuto. Well, the topic is too far away. This is purely a personal interpretation. If you don't like it or don't like it, don't spray it. Well, I won't discuss it here. The text returns to the main story. When Qian Ye was thinking wildly and questioning Shinigami's power. Downstairs. As Qian Ye expected, Hinamori Momo must complete the Aizen captain who trusted her, and personally told her that she believed she would be able to complete the task well. Not only will she bring Rukia Kuchiki back to Soul Society, she will also take back the power of Kurosaki Ichigo's Shinigami. At this time, I want to regain the power of Kurosaki Ichigo Shinigami Hinamori Momo. He learned that Rukia Kuchiki would die after being tortured by Sokyoku, and wanted to prevent Hinamori Momo and Abarai Renji from taking Rukia Kuchiki away Kurosaki Ichigo. The two fought naturally. Kurosaki Ichigo savagely took Yoshikumaru from the belly of the doll named Soul. After Kurosaki Ichigo swallowed Yoshikumaru, the soul escaped from the body and turned into a Shinigami form holding a huge zanpakuto. His body is handed over to the soul. Hinamori Momo and Abarai Renji, both of them looked at Kurosaki Ichigo's zanpakuto in surprise. They have never seen anyone's wombing zanpakuto like this. Kurosaki Ichigo, now return the Shinigami power you took away from Miss Rukia. Hinamori Momo pulled out zanpakuto and took the initiative to attack Kurosaki Ichigo. Hinamori Momo's Reiatsu was restricted when he came, and now he can't show his true strength. However, it was reluctant to deal with Kurosaki Ichigo, who is still a novice at Shinigami. 4.9. Not to mention, Abarai Renji on the side believes that Kurosaki Ichigo is responsible for Rukia Kuchiki's current fate. Therefore, Abarai Renji also joined the battle. When Ishida Yuryu hesitated to make a move, Rukia Kuchiki spoke. You don't want to fight anymore, Hinamori Momo Deputy Captain, Renji, you guys stop, isn't it enough for me to go with you? Why do you have to fight Kurosaki Ichigo? Hinamori Momo said, this is a task assigned by the captain himself. While bringing you back to Soul Society, I also need to take back the Shinigami power Kurosaki Ichigo got from you. Kurosaki's power, can you take it away if you want it? Ishida Yulong took out the spirit archery named Arcjack. Hinamori Momo was taken aback. Queenskiller. Isn't the Quincy already extinct? Why does it appear here? Kurosaki Ichigo said, Ishida, you don't need it. I'm not helping you. You should know how much I hate Soul Society Shinigami as a Quincy. There are now 2 Soul Society Shinigami here. I just acted on them according to my heart. When Ishida Yulong interrupted Kurosaki Ichigo, he joined the battle group directly. His opponent was Hinamori Kimao. Chapter 96. Unexpected. Rukia was brought back to Soul Society. 5/5. Advertise here. As Ishida Yulong joined the battle group, the outcome of the battle became more and more confusing. Hinamori Momo and Abarai Renji, who were suppressed, discovered that they were the deputy captains. After a while, they could not win Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu. While both of them were surprised, they also became serious. Upstairs, Kurosaki Ichigo's room. Unohana Retsu looked at the battle downstairs and said, although Hinamori Momo and Abarai Renji were suppressed, and neither of them had Shikai, the performance of Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu was a bit beyond my expectations. Qian Ye smiled. What a joke. These two exist with the protagonist aura. Hinamori Momo said, Renji, it won't work to continue like this, Shikai. Abarai Renji nodded and said to Kurosaki Ichigo who was fighting with him. Kurosaki Ichigo, your strength is somewhat beyond my expectation, but nothing more. Abarai Renji said and distanced himself from Kurosaki Ichigo, and continued. Next, I will show you what the real power of zanpakuto is. After Abarai Renji finished speaking, he changed to holding his zanpakuto with his right hand, while the palm of his left hand gently stroked it from the handle to the top of the blade. At the same time, Abarai Renji shouted in Jifangyu. Roar. Zabameru. Suddenly, zanpakuto, who was 23 in Abarai Renji's hand, changed his appearance, from single-edged to double-edged. At the same time, Abarai Renji's Reiatsu has also been greatly improved. Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu felt the lifted Reiatsu on Abarai Renji, and their expressions changed. Originally Kurosaki Ichigo didn't have much chance of winning, but now Abarai Renji has suddenly improved. Can Kurosaki Ichigo win? You just don't put me in your eyes. Hinamori Momo found that Ishida Ryu who was fighting with her had been looking at Kurosaki Ichigo, his face was a bit angry. Bloom. Fame. After Hinamori Momo finished Shikai, while zanpakuto in her hands changed, her Reiatsu was also improved. Then, the next battle became clear. Finally, Ishida Ryu was severely injured by Hinamori Momo. Kurosaki Ichigo was destroyed by Zabumaru in the hands of Abarai Renji, and Kurosaki Ichigo has lost the power of Shinigami. Subsequently, in Kurosaki Ichigo's unwilling eyes, Hinamori Jidao and Abarai Renji took Rukia Kuchiki into the open gate. Kurosaki Ichigo fell to the ground, his eyes full of unwillingness and regret. Damn it. It would be great if I was stronger. Ishida Yulong came to Kurosaki Ichigo with difficulty. Kurosaki, don't blame you, the opponent is too strong. But Rukia was taken away. After she was taken back to Soul Society, she might be tortured by Sokyoku. Rukia, she might die. At this time, Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu lifted their invisibility, and then fell down from the upper floor. After Unohana Retsu used Kaido to treat Kurosaki Ichigo briefly, Kurosaki Ichigo returned to his own body. Qian Ye came next to Ishida Yulong who was watching him warily, and said, "Do you need me to heal your injuries?" Ishida Yulong looked at this moment. Qian Ye, who was wearing a casual outfit, asked, "Who are you on Earth?" Qian Ye smiled and replied, "I am from Soul Society, a Shinigami. How about it, you who hate Shinigami in your heart, do you need my treatment?" Ishida Yulong said, "Trouble you." Qian Ye smiled. The current Ishida Yulong is no longer as stubborn as he imagined, towards Shinigami. Qian Ye knew that Yulong Ishida was influenced by Kurosaki Ichigo. Qian Ye started to treat Ishida Yulong with Kaido. After a few minutes, Ishida Yulong discovered that his injuries had fully recovered, and he had a new understanding of Qian Ye's strength again. Thanks. You got a lot of favor from Ishida Yulong, and you get a hidden event reward, Spiritual Power plus 10. Qian Ye was a little speechless. What the hell it is to lose a good impression. You have troubled me just now, so no more thanks now. Ishida Yulong looked at Kurosaki Ichigo, who had returned to his body, and asked, "Kurosaki, are you all right?" Kurosaki Ichigo said with worry on his face, "I don't seem to be able to become Shinigami." At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo and Ishida Ryu realized that Hinamori Momo and Abarai Renji said before. What does it mean to take back the Shinigami power that Kurosaki Ichigo got from Rukia Kuchiki? Ishida Yulong knew that Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu were both very powerful Shinigami, and asked, "Is there a way to help Kurosaki get back the power of Shinigami?" It's not that Ishida Ryu wants Kurosaki Ichigo to become Shinigami again, but that he knows. The current Kurosaki Ichigo needs Shinigami's power very much. Because Kurosaki Ichigo absolutely wants to use Shinigami's power to go to Soul Society to rescue Rukia Kuchiki. Qian Ye certainly has a way, and he can do it right away. That is to pull out zanpakuto to stab Kurosaki Ichigo with a knife, and separate his Shinigami power from Kurosaki Ichigo, so that Kurosaki Ichigo can gain Shinigami power again. However, Qian Ye does not intend to do this. Let Kurosaki Ichigo awaken the power of Shinigami in his own body. So Qian Ye said to Kurosaki Ichigo, "If you regain the power of Shinigami, you might as well go to the Urahara store. The manager there may be able to help you." Kurosaki Ichigo is indeed as Ishida Ryu thought, and now urgently needs to regain Shinigami's power. So Kurosaki Ichigo thanked Qian Ye and ran out. After running a few steps, he stepped back. "Where is the Urahara store?" Unohana Retsu said. "I'll take you there." Kurosaki Ichigo said, "Thank you, can you take me there now?" Obviously, Kurosaki Ichigo wants to hurry up. He doesn't know what Rukia Kuchiki will suffer in Soul Society. Unohana Retsu looked towards Qian Ye. After Qian Ye nodded, Unohana Retsu took Kurosaki Ichigo to the Urahara store first. Ishida Yulong looked at Kurosaki Ichigo leaving behind Unohana Retsu, and said to Qian Ye. "You were nearby just now. Why didn't you stop Rukia from being brought back to Soul Society?" Qian Ye replied, "You saw it just now. It was Ms. Rukia who refused my help, and she wanted to return to Soul Society." When Ishida Yulong saw Rukia Kuchiki had lost his strength. Therefore, Ishida Yulong did not know the strength of Rukia Kuchiki. He was shocked when he saw Qian Ye calling Rukia Kuchiki his teacher. Ishida Yulong doesn't know how strong Qian Ye's strength is, but he can be sure that Qian Ye's strength absolutely crushes him. Rukia Kuchiki turned out to be Qian Ye's teacher. How strong is Rukia Kuchiki who has no power to die? Ishida Yulong thinks so. But I don't know that although Rukia Kuchiki is not weak, it is one. Well, there is no comparison. When Shitian Yulong came back to his senses, he found that Qian Ye had disappeared for some unknown time. Soul Society. After Abarai Renji and Weisentao brought Rukia Kuchiki back, the team captain Yamamoto Motoryu Saijukuni immediately called a captain meeting. A team. Zaraki Kenpachi was very upset after receiving instructions from the captain's meeting again. Meeting? It's a meeting again, can't you take direct action except for a meeting? Kusajishi Yakiru said. Ajien, do you want to go to this world to capture Xiaoqian Yi? Zaraki Kenpachi said. Yakianryu, I just hate meetings, and besides, I just want to have a good fight with Qian Ye. Kusajishi Yakiru said. But didn't you have an agreement with Qian Ye? Why are you impatient? Can you not participate in this action against 507 Xiao Qian Ye? Xiao Qian Ye is my brother. Zaraki Kenpachi did not answer Kusajishi Yakiru, but walked in the direction of the first team. Zaraki Kenpachi also wanted to follow the agreement between him and Qian Ye to play a good game in 2 months. But this time against Qian Ye, many captains were dispatched. Even if Qian Ye is very strong, if you can't do it with Qian Ye this time, Zaraki Kenpachi is afraid, and there will be no chance in the future. Byakuya Kuchiki, Broken B, Komamura Sajin, and Aizen Sōsuke, Tusen Kanami and Ichimaru Jin. After learning that Rukia Kuchiki was brought back to Soul Society by Hinamori Momo and Abarai Renji, they were all very surprised. No one thought that Qian Ye would bring Rukia Kuchiki back to Soul Society so easily. The 6th Division Team House. Byakuya Kuchiki. What is Qian Ye doing? Komamura Sajin said, will Qian Ye break Kyoka Suigetsu's ability because of his thoughts? Byakuya Kuchiki said, what about Captain Unohana and Urahara Kazuki? Broken B smiled suddenly. Perhaps, there is another possibility. Byakuya Kuchiki and Paimon Sajin looked towards Broken B. Broken B said, Qian Ye has figured out a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu's ability. Both Byakuya Kuchiki and Sajin are skeptical. So fast, is it possible? Although they are in Soul Society, they have been thinking about cracking Kyoka Suigetsu's ability. Pity. They can't think of a way to crack it. The 5th Division Team House. After Aizen Sōsuke heard the news, a smile appeared on his face. It's really unexpected. Tusen Kanami was worried. Qian Ye made Rukia Kuchiki be brought back to Soul Society so easily, maybe he has already thought of a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu's ability. Aizen said. Impossible, not to mention how long it is, besides, what I have with my zanpakuto is ability, but I am very confident. Chapter 97. Qian Ye and Sister Wa return to Soul Society, 1/5. Advertise here. First team, meeting room. The 13th team member Rukia Kuchiki, standing in the hall, is accepting the joint judgment made by the team captains. Yamamoto Motoyanagi Saiju National Road. Now, it is confirmed that Rukia Kuchiki, a member of the 13th Division, without permission, gave Shinigami the power to the current Kurosaki Ichigo, and let the current Kurosaki Ichigo own it. The power of Shinigami. According to Soul Society, the crime committed by Rukia Kuchiki is a first-degree felony. Captains, how do you think you should deal with the criminal Rukia Kuchiki? After Yamamoto Motoyajisai Shigekuni finished speaking, the captain in the hall did not speak. Aizen Sōsuke saw this and said, since Rukia Kuchiki's crime has been confirmed, and she committed a first-degree felony, in order to show punishment, and to confess to the remaining 6,000 team members in the 13th chapter, I think we should immediately execute the Sokyoku punishment on Rukia Kuchiki. Byakuya Kuchiki immediately looked at Aizen Sōsuke coldly. Sure enough, Aizen Sōsuke's purpose was to impose Sokyoku punishment on Rukia Kuchiki, thereby taking out Hōgyoku from Rukia Kuchiki's body. Byakuya Kuchiki said, Captain Aizen, although Rukia Kuchiki's crime has been confirmed, it is not in accordance with the rules to execute Sokyoku immediately. Broken B also said, I agree with Captain Kuchiki, Rukia Kuchiki is guilty, so he should be put in the confession palace first, let Rukia Kuchiki repent for her crimes, and then execute the sentence. Pai Village Sajin said. The old man thought that since Rukia Kuchiki voluntarily followed the 2 deputy captains to return to Soul Society to plead guilty, she said that she also had justice and light in her heart. Therefore, even if Rukia Kuchiki is to be sentenced, she should be given a chance to repent. Then, Hieraku Shunsui, Jashiro Yukitaki and other captains also agreed to give Rukia Kuchiki time to confess. Aizen Sōsuke saw that the captain was speaking for Rukia Kuchiki, he smiled and stopped expressing his opinion. 7 days. In order to get Hōgyoku, he has waited so long, and he doesn't care about these 7 days. Yamamoto Motoryu Sai Shigekuni glanced at Byakuya Kuchiki, and said in a deep voice, in that case, I will put Rukia Kuchiki in the confession palace, and after 7 days, I will take her to the Mao execution ground to be sentenced by Sokyoku. There is another name for Mao's execution ground, which is Sokyokutai. There is a torture stand dedicated to the punishment of Sokyoku, and Sokyoku, which is only unlocked when the punishment of double reproduction is performed. After Rukia Kuchiki learned that he would be sentenced to Sokyoku 7 days later, he was very calm. This made Aizen Sōsuke feel a little strange, but out of self-confidence in him, he didn't take it too seriously. Byakuya Kuchiki felt heartache, thinking that Rukia Kuchiki must hate him for not being able to save her. This world. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo is under the Urahara store, and with the help of Urahara Kazuki, he is trained to regain the power of Shinigami. Kurosaki Ichigo's 2 friends, and Orihime and Sato Yasutora. He accepted an invitation from a talking black cat and began special training. Rukongai, North 80 District, Zaraki District. A piercing gate quietly opened here. Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu, who were dressed in Lingshi clothing, walked out of the gate. The reason why the gate of the 2 of them opened here is because opening the gate of the gate in Seraiti requires the authorization of the Spiritual Academy. Otherwise, foreign enemies want to invade Zaraki, as long as they can cope with the conflicts within the boundary. Then you can directly open the door to Zaraki. Zaraki's city wall made of murderous stones and the protective cover of murderous stones covering the sky and the ground are purely decorations. This is the reason why Kurosaki Ichigo et al.'s travel disaster invasion, and the Soul Hunter invasion, both arrived at Rukongai first, instead of directly appearing in Zaraki. Now, Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu became Zaraki's traitors. Naturally, the Spiritual Academy had already cancelled the authorization to open the gate of the two in the Linking Palace. Therefore, Qian Ye and Egg Flower Lie positioned the crossing gate here. The wandering spirits of Zaraki district, looking at Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu who suddenly appeared here, hesitated to step forward. Because, although Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu wore the Death Tyrant costume representing Shinigami's identity, they couldn't feel any Reiatsu. When Qian Ye does not use spiritual power, Reiatsu cannot be sensed. Unohana Retsu is wearing a spiritual mask that can conceal Reiatsu developed by Urahara Kazuki. Qian Ye has stayed in this Zaraki district for half a year. He knows that the wandering spirits here are desperados who bully soft and fear hard. In order not to cause unnecessary trouble, Qian Ye released his Reiatsu control to the surrounding wandering souls. For a time, dozens of wandering souls around Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu felt the pressure of Reiatsu on their bodies, all with a look of horror. After the wandering souls far away noticed something was wrong, they naturally fled in all directions in a panic. The wandering spirits who were held by Qian Ye Reiatsu wanted to escape here, but found that their feet seemed to be filled with lead, and the pestle stayed in place and could not move. Just when they thought they were going to be killed, they saw Qian Ye taking Unohana Retsu and Shunko into the air. Qian Ye walked ahead, condensing the spirit child under his feet to move. Unohana Retsu followed Qian Ye, stepping on the temporary footprints left by Qian Ye. Unohana Retsu looked at the back of Qian Ye walking in front, feeling deeply. 6 years ago, she took Qian Ye and left from Zaraki district to Zaraki. She still carried Qian Ye in her arms. But now, when the two went to Jingling Court from Zaraki district again, it was her who followed Qian Ye. But 6 years. Qian Ye is 1.5 big, a little devil who can't even control his spiritual power, Li's Zhao. Became the existence that can stand in front of her now. In just 6 years, Qian Ye has grown to this level. If it weren't for Qian Ye to walk in front of Unohana Retsu alive, she would definitely not believe that there would be such an evil existence. At this moment, Unohana Retsu had a thought step in her heart. If she followed Qian Ye, maybe it would be good too. But, Unohana Retsu quickly put this idea away, and now is not the time to think about it. Qian Ye controlled Reiatsu very well and did not attract Saraidi's attention. In this way, Qian Ye brought Unohana Retsu to West 1st Street. Saraiti is west, Baidaemon. Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu came here. At this time, Brother Ban, who is always responsible for guarding the Baidaemon, looked at the two people in front of him, expressing panic in his heart. Chapter 98. Either open the door or die. 2/5. Advertise here. The news that Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu defected to the Soul Society to go to the present world is not a secret in the entire Jingling Ting under the deliberate spread of Aizen Sōsuke. Even Rukongai residents near Saraiti have heard of this. As the guard of Baidaemon, Bangziu Danfang always knew this. Unohana Retsu, who has been the captain of Gotei 13 band for thousands of years, has always known Sakao Danfang naturally. As for Qian Ye, Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang also feels familiar. Soon, he remembered, isn't this the newcomer Zheng Jin followed Aizen Sōsuke? Captain Ujihua, what are you guys? Unohana Retsu said. Xiao Danfang, open the door. But without the above order, I can't open the door. Unohana Retsu said coldly. When I go in and out of Baidaemon, when do I need the above order? Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang said, in the past you were the captain of Gotei 13th Division, now you are a traitor to Soul Society. Of course, he dare not say this at this time. At the time when Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang was embarrassed. Qian Ye opened the mouth and said, I heard that you have a rule 507. If anyone can beat you one-on-one, you will open the white door. With an embarrassing smile on his face, Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang said, I'm just a guard, I don't dare to do anything with Captain Ujihua. Qian Ye said. No, it's not that Sister Hua hit you, it's me who wants to hit you. Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang shook his head into a rattle. You just forget it. Although Qian Ye hasn't introduced himself yet, Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang has already guessed that the young man in front of him is Qian Ye, who has caused a stir in Soul Society. An existence that needs to mobilize the captains, can it be his opponent who is not even Shinigami, just because he is big and has a powerful guard? Qian Ye said. Yi Guan Ban Si Danfang, if you believe your sister Hua, please open the door without disturbing Saraiti. Yi Guan Ban Xiao Danfang was embarrassed on his face. The reason Qian Ye talked nonsense with Yi Guan Ban Si Danfang was that he didn't want to alarm Saraiti. Don't want to, it doesn't mean you can't, it doesn't mean you're afraid. Qian Ye directly controlled Reiatsu towards Yi Guan Ban brother Danfang. Puff. The huge body of Ban Shong Danfang, which has always been smashed, hit the ground directly, causing the ground to tremble. Yi Guan Ban Xiao Dan Fang knew that Qian Ye was very strong, but he never expected that Qian Ye would just release Reiatsu so that he could be crushed on the ground. And, looking at Qian Ye's appearance, it was obvious that he didn't use all his strength. Now I give you two choices, either open the white door or die. If it weren't because the material of the white daemon was a murderous stone, and the murderous stone could completely block the spiritual power in Reiatsu, Qian Ye didn't need brother Ban Danfang to open the door. Although Qian Ye's strength is strong, it relies on spiritual power in Reiatsu. If it is power, Qian Ye also has it, and after turning on the instant mode, Qian Ye's power and speed can reach a terrifying point. It's a pity that instant opening is a combination of white hits and Kido, and it also requires spiritual power. When Qian Ye releases Reiatsu to threaten Yi Guan Ban Xiaodanfang, the captains in Seraiti change their expressions and look to the west. With excitement on Byakuya Kuchiki's face, Qian Ye, are you here? Great. Byakuya Kuchiki was worried that Qian Ye would not be able to catch up. As a result, as soon as Rukia Kuchiki was imprisoned in the confession palace, Qian Ye came, and he was naturally extremely excited. There was a smile on Broken Bee's face. Qian Ye, you have appeared at the Baidaemon with such a high profile, you must have thought of a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu. Aizen Sōsuke's face was also excited. Qian Ye, are you showing up? Just so, since you brought it to the door by yourself, it just happens that I can remove this hidden danger from you in advance. Because Qian Ye, CDEJ, had already appeared at the Baidaemon and was like provoking Seraiti, at this time, he released the amazing Reiatsu in a high-profile manner. As the captain of the team, Yamamoto Motoi Nagisai Shigekuni did not hold another meeting. Sasaki, there is no time to hold a team leader meeting, just use Tien Ting Kong Luo to notify the teams. Chojiro Sasaki nodded, then came to the courtyard of the first group and began to sing. Black and White Luo, Bridge of 22, 66 Crown Belt. Footprints, Far Thunder, Sharp Peaks, Return to the Ground, Nightfall, Sea of Clouds. Blue Q, paint the Taiyuan all over and head straight for the sky. As Chojiro Sasaki finished singing, a spiritual net woven with Reiatsu unfolded with him as the center. The network cable continued to extend, and finally found the position of the captain of the various teams. At the same time, the captains of each division heard the voice of Yamamoto Motoi Nagisai Shigekuni from the 1st Division. Except for the 8th, 12th, and 13th squadrons, the captains of the remaining squadrons, immediately go to the Baidaemon, and be sure to bring Qian Ye to me alive. Above, action. After Zaraki Kenpachi received the order, he was the first to rush towards the White Road Gate at a very fast speed. Although Zaraki Kenpachi is a road idiot, Qian Ye's powerful Reiatsu is his guiding light. Kusajishi Yakiru on Zaraki Kenpachi's back wore worry on his face. Aegean, slow down. I have a hunch, Qian Ye will definitely make my zanpakuto tweak today. Zaraki Kenpachi was only the first captain to rush to the White Road Gate, not the only one. Because Qian Ye has appeared in Soul Society, Kuritsuchi Mayuri no longer needs to monitor the world. Therefore, except for Unohana Retsu who was already by Qian Ye's side, and the team leader Yamamoto Motoryuzai Shigekuni, the other team leaders rushed towards the Baidaemon where Qian Ye was. Unohana Retsu felt the Reiatsu of the captains who rushed here quickly, and still had a lot of worries in her heart. Yi Guan Ban Xiaodanfang hoped that those captains would come soon. Qian Ye's Reiatsu on him was getting bigger and bigger, and he was almost unable to hold on. Qian Ye didn't panic at all, and even converged to release Reiatsu. Yi Guan Ban Xiaodanfang, tell me your choice now. Sorry, as the guard of Baidaemon, I can't open the door. Knowing that many captains were coming here, Yi Guan Ban Xiaodanfang also became hardened. Oh, I got it. As soon as Qian Ye's voice fell, Zanpakuto was already out of the sheath, and he slashed towards Yi Guan Ban Xiaodanfang. One gourd cut. Yi Guan Ban Xiaodanfang, who had just gotten up, his face changed drastically before he could breathe a sigh of relief. Because, a terrifying sword pressure has already arrived in front of him in an instant. Chapter 99. Behead Yiguanzaka Fierce Danfang, 3/5. Advertise here. Qian Ye gave Yiguan Ban Si Danfang two choices. Or open the door, or die. Since Yi Guan Ban Shong Dan Fang chose not to open the door, for Qian Ye, it was natural that Yi Guan Ban Shong Dan Fang chose to die by default. So, Qian Ye faced the big man who could be regarded as a giant like Yi Guan Ban Xiao Dan Fang, although he did not liberate Zanpakuto, after using Shikai, the blade could grow bigger and bigger. But it is. Qian Ye covered 70% of Reiatsu on the blade, and while slicing out this blow, he used the sword to press. All the while, Sakamoto Danfang has sensed that Reiatsu, the fastest captain, has arrived behind the door. He never expected that Qian Ye would suddenly attack him at this moment. Facing the terrifying sword pressure that hit him, Ban Xiao Danfang had to pull out his axe to block him. He hopes to defend Qian Ye's sword pressure attack. Almost always at the moment when brother Ban Dan raised the giant tiger in front of him, Qian Ye's sword pressure fell on the giant axe he raised. Swift. The giant axe in the hands of Yiguan Ban Xiaodanfang was directly crushed and shattered by the sword without even being able to hold it for even 1 second. And this is not over yet. After the sword pressure smashed the giant axe into pieces, it continued to fall on Yiguan Ban Xiaodanfang. The huge body of Ban Si Danfang has always been crushed by the sword and flew backwards, smashing towards the Beidaemon. The air that Ban Xiaodanfang traversed, leaving a blood line of wine drifting. At this time, the Beidao gate was just opened by someone from inside. The huge body of Sake Danfang always smashed into Saraiti. When he landed, he was dying, with a huge shocking wound on his body. If he is not a giant, he is born with extraordinary powers and matching defenses. At this moment, Yiguan Ban Dui Dan Fang must have been cut in half by Qian Ye. The captain who rushed to the Beidaemon first was naturally Zaraki Kenpachi. Yiguan Sake Danbo raised his hand unwillingly, and wanted to find Zaraki Kenpachi for help. It's a pity that Zaraki Kenpachi walked directly towards Qian Ye who was standing outside the white door, and didn't even glance at the brother Dan Fang who was standing behind him. Yiguan Ban Xiao Danfang's raised hand suddenly hit the ground, the unwillingness in his eyes slowly dissipated, and finally disappeared completely. At the same time, Qian Ye's mind sounded a system prompt. You beheaded the guard of Saraiti Beidaemon Yiguanzaka Yudanfang, and you get a hidden event reward. Template upgrade card X1, Spiritual Power plus 500. 1. Yep. After slaying Yiguan Ban Xiaodanfang, not only did he reward a template upgrade card, but also directly rewarded 500 spiritual power. You know, Qian Ye completed the 6-year-long time limit event at that time, and the spiritual power he was rewarded was only 2000. Qian Ye even wondered whether he could quickly improve his strength by beheading Shinigami. Kusajishi Yakiru, who was lying behind Zaraki Kenpachi, waved to Qian Ye constantly. Little Qian Ye, sister is here. Captain Ujihua, you really are together. At this time, Qian Ye did not hear the profound meaning of Kusajishi Yakiru. Captain Zaraki, are you so impatient to take me down? Zaraki Kenpachi pulled out his zanpakuto directly, pointed the tip of the knife, and said to Qian Ye, it seems we are going to fight ahead of time. Unohana Retsu stood in front of Qian Ye and said, Zaraki, if you want to fight, I will accompany you. Zaraki Kenpachi was silent for a while, and fighting Unohana Retsu was also good, but now Ishin only wants to fight Qian Ye. At this time, the 2nd Division Captain, Broken B, also came to Beidaemon. She looked at Yiguan Ban Si Danfang who had fallen to the ground, and she felt worried. Even if she knew that Qian Ye was calculated by Aizen Sōsuke, Qian Ye just returned to Soul Society. Just beheaded the guard of Beidaemon, I'm afraid this matter will not end well. Of course, what matters now is not how Qian Ye will be dealt with afterwards, but to determine whether Qian Ye really has a way to deal with Aizen Sōsuke. So, Broken B tentatively said, Qian Ye, we are going to the present world to arrest you. I didn't expect you to come here by yourself. Why don't you put our Soul Society in your eyes? Qian Ye naturally got the meaning of the Broken B, and said, since I dare to come, I am naturally not afraid. After receiving Qian Ye's answer, Broken B was relieved. She knew that Qian Ye had indeed found a way to crack Kyoka Suigetsu. For flowers. After Broken B arrived here, Byakuya Kuchiki and other captains also arrived here one after another. Then, Qian Ye and Unohana Retsu confronted the captains of Saraiti across the white door. Qian Ye looked at Aizen Sōsuke and said, Captain Aizen, such a good opportunity, don't you still use Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities and let all the captains work on me together? Byakuya Kuchiki saw Qian Ye in a direct showdown, so he didn't pretend, and a shunpo came directly to Qian Ye's side. Byakuya Kuchiki and Qian Ye stood together, looking at Aizen Sōsuke. Aizen, I will never allow you to shoot Rukia. At the same time, Shattered Bee and Komamura Sajin were also shunpo who came to Qian Ye. Point 0. Paimura Sajin looked at Tusen Kanami who was still standing next to Aizen Sōsuke. Tusen Kanami said, I'm sorry, I decided to follow Aizen to pursue stronger power. Only by gaining stronger power can I pursue true justice and light in the future, otherwise I can only be trampled underfoot like the past. Quote. Tusen, I don't know how much confusion and disappointment are contained in the roar of Sajin in Paimura. Kuretsuchi Mayuri and Shunpo came to Qian Ye's side. Little brother Qian Ye, do you need help from him? Qian Ye smiled and said, if brother Nirvana is willing to help, then it is naturally the best. Qian Ye was not surprised by Kuretsuchi Mayuri's actions. After 6 years of getting along with Qian Ye and Kuretsuchi Mayuri has regarded Qian Ye as a friend. Perhaps, this is Kuretsuchi Mayuri, the lonely person, so far, the first and only friend he has. Well, as for the dream of Nirvana, it is not counted. Hitsugaya Toshiro looked at Qian Ye and Aizen Sōsuke, who had split into 2 waves, and asked. What the hell is going on? Can anyone explain it? Broken B said. Hefan Valley, you still can't tell, which side should you stand on? Hitsugaya Toshiro said. Aren't everyone the captain of Gotei 13? Why do you want this? Shattered B was about to explain, but he saw Hitsugaya Toshiro suddenly pulling out Zanpakuto and rushing towards Fan. Chapter 100. Really crack Kyoka Suigetsu, 4/5. Advertise here. Hitsugaya Toshiro rushed towards Qian Ye and the others, and shouted. Qian Ye not only obliterated Central 46, but now he has just returned to Soul Society, and he has also killed the guard of Beidaemon, brother Ban Danfang. It is already certain that Qian Ye is the enemy of Soul Society. Captain Shattered B, no matter what your reason is, since you choose Qian Ye, the enemy of Soul Society, to be together, then you are also the enemy of Soul Society, the enemy of my Hitsugaya Toshiro. The Broken Bee looked at the rushing Hitsugaya Toshiro and said loudly, Captain Hyphantani, don't be impulsive, listen to me. The Broken Bee said that he wanted to step forward to stop Hitsugaya Toshiro, but Qian Ye grabbed his hand. It started. After hearing what Qian Ye said, the Broken Bee and Unohana Retsu beside Qian Ye, as well as Byakuya Kuchiki and 51-0, Pi Village Sajin, their expressions became solemn. They naturally knew what Qian Ye meant by beginning. Broken Bee and others looked towards Aizen Sōsuke. Really, Aizen Sōsuke has already pulled out zanpakuto, holding the tip of the sword downward in his backhand. Some Shinigami who learned Bankai did not need to chant Shikai when they were in Shikai. Although I don't know what Bankai of Aizen Sōsuke is, he can do it anyway, and liberate zanpakuto without singing Shikai. It is precisely because of this that Aizen Sōsuke's Kyoka Suigetsu is difficult to watch out for. Because he just looked for a chance to pull out zanpakuto, hold the knife with the tip of the backhand down, and complete Shikai. At this time, Hitsugaya Toshiro had rushed to the front of Broken Bee, and zanpakuto in his hand was severely cut down. At this time, Qian Ye yelled and said, Spiritual Power Domain, open. Brush. As Qian Ye's spiritual power was released, his Reiatsu quickly formed a spiritual power domain that only Qian Ye himself could see. The realm of spiritual power released by Qian Ye directly covers the radius of 1 kilometer centered on Qian Ye. While Qian Ye felt the constant loss of his own spiritual power, Hitsugaya Toshiro, who had rushed in front of Broken Bee and Qian Ye and others, used zanpakuto to slash the Broken Bee and disappeared. And the real Hitsugaya Toshiro was still standing in place at this time, looking at Qian Ye and asking loudly. Captain Shattered Bee, Captain Kuchiki, why are you guys? So far, although Broken Bee and others did not know what the spiritual power domain in Qian Ye Lua was. But, they can be certain. That is, Aizen Sōsuke's Kyoka Suigetsu is already successfully cracked by Qian Ye. Qian Ye said, Captain Shattered Bee, now you can explain to Captain Hefan Valley and Brother Ne. When Broken Bee opened Shikai to release, Qian Ye looked at Aizen Sōsuke with an incredible face. Captain Aizen, it is a pity that your Kyoka Suigetsu is useless in my spiritual power field. The expression on Aizen Sōsuke's face changed again, from incredible to solemn. Unexpectedly, I really didn't expect, Qian Ye, you can actually think of a way to crack my Kyoka Suigetsu in 3 days. Suddenly, Aizen Sōsuke's conversation turned. But, you need to consume a lot of spiritual power to open the so-called spiritual power field. I can use Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities at any time, and how long can you maintain the spiritual power field? Qian Ye said, Captain Aizen, do you know? Actually, your first impression of zanpakuto was correct. Huh, Aizen Sōsuke looked at Qian Ye in a puzzled way, obviously not understanding what Qian Ye meant. My zanpakuto, indeed has infinite possibilities. Now, I will let you see the true power of Nao Mihime. Qian Ye said, holding zanpakuto horizontally in front of him, and chanting softly in his mouth. Let's dance. Now Mimahime. Under everyone's gaze, zanpakuto in Qian Ye's hand slowly changed. It turned into a long sword with patterns and no inscriptions engraved on the handle, and a transparent blade. This is not over yet. Qian Ye hugged zanpakuto in his arms, pressed close to his heart, and sang softly again. Show me. Now Mimahime. In the surprised expressions of Aizen Sōsuke and others, zanpakuto in Qian Ye's arms turned out to disappear. After Qian Ye zanpakuto dissipated and turned into a spirit child, he kept flying around Qian Ye, and finally slowly regrouped in Qian Ye's arms. Become a human form. Among the captains on the field, the only person who met Mickey now was Ichimaru Jin. The other captains looked at this woman who appeared in Qian Ye's arms curiously. Without waiting for them to post, Qian Ye maintained the posture of holding Nao Mihime firmly in his arms, and began to sing softly again. Go back to 1. Now Mimahime. I saw the woman in Qian Ye's arms dissipated again, and nothing changed afterwards. But, Aizen Sōsuke and others could obviously feel the changes in Qian Ye. Although they can't tell, what is the change in the end? They knew that Qian Ye's strength at this time had been greatly improved. Aizen Sōsuke even sensed that the spiritual power in Qian Ye's body had stopped flowing at this time. Qian Ye smiled and said, Captain Aizen, you should have already sensed it. As long as I want to, this spiritual power domain can last as long as I want to last. Ha ha ha, Aizen Sōsuke burst out laughing. Unexpectedly, your zanpakuto has 3 Shikai forms. Moreover, the woman who just appeared in your arms should be the classmate Nao Miki who was accidentally killed by Manos Grande during the internship in the Soul Burial. That's it, there is actually no Naomi Heim classmate at all. The so-called Nasumi Heim classmate is just your zanpakuto's second Shikai form. And you, Qian Ye, you actually completed Shikai as early as 3 years ago. Qian Ye, I really didn't expect you to hide so deeply. 4.9. Without waiting for Qian Ye's answer, after listening to the brief explanation of Broken Bee, Hitsugaya Toshiro said coldly. Captain Aizen, you should be the one who is hiding deep. Thanks to Weisentao for treating you like she did. Hitsugaya Toshiro listened to Broken Bee's explanation, combined with what he had noticed before, and then based on what is happening now. Hitsugaya Toshiro naturally chose to believe what the Broken Bee said. Ha ha ha, what if you know it? Didn't you find one thing? Qian Ye's expression suddenly changed. Now, almost all the captains are here. And what is Aizen Sōsuke's goal? It's actually Rukia Kuchiki. After Qian Ye reacted, he also asked immediately. Captain Kuchiki, where is Ms. Rukia? Chapter 101. Aizen fled to Hueco Mundo, 5/5. Advertise here. Byakuya Kuchiki said. Rukia is now being held in the Confession Palace. Qian Ye said anxiously, leave it to me, Captain Kuchiki, go to the Confession Palace. Byakuya Kuchiki didn't answer Qian Ye, but moved at full speed and rushed in the direction of the Confessional Palace. Obviously, Byakuya Kuchiki has already reacted. Qian Ye said to Broken Bee and others around him. You go too, Aizen is enough to leave me alone. Then you be careful. After Broken Bee finished speaking, he also rushed towards the Confession Palace. Brother Nei, don't you want to help me? Please. I see. Kuretsuchi Mayuri interrupted Qian Ye's words and rushed directly to the Confession Palace. After Hitsugaya Toshiro hesitated for a while, he followed Kuretsuchi Mayuri to the Confession Palace. Qian Ye said to Zaraki Kenpachi again. Captain Zaraki, since I have agreed with you to fight in 2 months, I will not break my promise. Okay, I'll wait for you. Zaraki Kenpachi left here after speaking. Yeah, great. Kusajishi Yakiru saw that Qian Ye was not an enemy, and she was the happiest one after not having to fight Zaraki 23 Kenpachi. Well, at least she herself thinks she is the happiest one. Little Qian Ye, you have to cheer. My sister is optimistic about you. Komamura Sajin said to Qian Ye, Tusen Kanami teach me. Qian Ye nodded, then said to Unohana Retsu, Sister Wa, then Ichimaru Jin will be handed over to you. Qian Ye saw that Ichimaru Jin did not have a direct team, guessing that he might not want a direct showdown now, so he asked Unohana Retsu to deal with him. Although Unohana Retsu doesn't know the specifics of Ichimaru Jin. But, Qian Ye once told her that Ichimaru Jin can be trusted. Therefore, Unohana Retsu nodded to Qian Ye and said, don't worry, Ichimaru Jin will leave it to me. Then, Beta-Iman became here. Qian Ye to Aizen Sōsuke. Komamura Sajin vs. Tusen Kanami. Unohana Retsu vs. Ichimaru Jin. Tusen, let's change place. Good. Tusen Kanami followed Sajin to the west. Ichimaru Jin said. Captain Unohana, do we need to change places? Unohana Retsu nodded, then said to Qian Ye, be careful. As a result, only Qian Ye and Aizen Sōsuke were left here, as well as the brother Dan Fang who had become a corpse. As for the residents of West 1st Street, as early as when Qian Ye started to attack Yiguanban Xiaodanfang, they were afraid of being affected, and they left as far away as possible. Seeing Aizen Sōsuke, Qian Ye has been standing there since just now, watching Qian Ye laugh. Qian Ye's heart became more and more disturbed. Maybe something happened to Rukia Kuchiki. Certainly, Qian Ye can't take care of the Confession Palace now, even if Qian Ye wants to go to the Confession Palace, Aizen will not let it. Qian Ye, you are really good, or follow me. I promise you can make you stronger than you are now. Qian Ye said. Sorry, I think I can still get stronger strength if I don't follow you. That's really a shame. I saw you obliterate Central 46. I thought you were the same as me. You have seen the darkness of Soul Society a long time ago. Qian Ye said. Where is there no darkness? Hueco Mundo. Aizen Sōsuke said. Hueco Mundo is at least better than this level of Soul Society. Qian Ye said. You are wrong, is Hueco Mundo different? And it seems that the class of Hueco Mundo is more distinct. You just went to Hueco Mundo with me once, how do you know what's going on there? Qian Ye said. There are levels for false points. Aizen Sōsuke nodded. The formation of a Jillian requires the swallowing and fusion of hundreds of inferior voids, and a higher level void than Jillian. How many Jillians need to be swallowed? Qian Ye paused. So, isn't the level telling everything in Hueco Mundo? The low-level emptiness not only has to listen to the high-level emptiness, but may also be swallowed at any time. Although the current Soul Society is rotten, it has rules that have been formed over thousands of years. Although some rules are unfair or unreasonable, those unfair and unreasonable rules are only a few. Ha ha ha, Aizen Sōsuke laughed again. Qian Ye, Soul Society will have people like you in the future, and now Central 46 is also obliterated by you. I think Soul Society will definitely become better in the future. Unfortunately, I may not get that day. Because, I will destroy this rotten Soul Society before that distant day arrives. Aizen Sōsuke finished speaking and released his Reiatsu. Qian Ye felt Aizen Sōsuke's Reiatsu and found that although Aizen Sōsuke had not yet merged with Hōgyoku, his spiritual power and Reiatsu were already above the super captain. Of course, Aizen Sōsuke's Reiatsu is not as good as Captain Yamamoto Motoryu Sai Shigekuni, and not as good as Qian Ye. As for Aizen Sōsuke's spiritual power, it is naturally not as good as Qian Ye, who constantly gets spiritual rewards. Qian Ye, you are very strong, but you are not strong enough. I look forward to the day when you really become strong, and then fight with you. Aizen Sōsuke raised his head as he spoke, and saw a golden light drop from above his head. Immediately afterwards, with two big hands at the source of the light, 510 tore a big hole. Black chamber. Countless Jillian-level Manos Grande poked their heads out of the black cavity, and behind these Jillians, there was a huge eye. I couldn't see what that huge eye was, I could only feel the terrifying Reiatsu from it. Aizen Sōsuke, bathed in golden light, looked at Qian Ye and said, Qian Ye, I will take care of you for obliterating Central 46. Really? Thank you so much. Qian Ye was quite surprised by this. He thought that Aizen Sōsuke would use this to create some trouble for Qian Ye, and Qian Ye had prepared a solution early for this. The way of course is to kill him without admitting it, and push the matter to Aizen Sōsuke. Anyway, the only people from Central 46 who knew about this were Qian Ye and Aizen Sōsuke. And the people of Central 46 had already died tragically under Qian Ye's zanpakuto. Qian Ye did not choose to attack Aizen Sōsuke. Because Qian Ye knew that now his shots were useless. The light shining on Aizen Sōsuke at this time is called the light film, which is used by Manos Grande to guide his companions. Once lowered, the space inside the light will not interfere with the outside. Qian Ye outside cannot attack Aizen Sōsuke inside the light film. Chapter 102. Interrogation Room with Crooked Style, 1/10. Advertise here. At the same time Aizen Sōsuke was taken over by Manos Grande. Unohana Retsu looked at the golden light that suddenly fell on Ichimaru Jin who was fighting her. Light film. Unohana Retsu naturally knew what fell on Ichimaru Jin, what this golden light was. Unohana Retsu frowned and said, Silver, won't you stay? Unohana Retsu is a little puzzled, didn't Qian Ye say Ichimaru Jin can be trusted? Moreover, Qian Ye said that the person who warned Qian Ye to be careful of Aizen Sōsuke was Ichimaru Jin. But why is Ichimaru Jin now? Ichimaru Jin was taken aback for a moment, and he didn't seem to think of this, but he then squinted his eyes and said. Captain Mao Zihua, thank Qian Ye for me. Ichimaru Jin thought he hadn't been exposed yet, so he decided to continue lurking beside Aizen Sōsuke. I understand, I will convey it to Qian Ye on your behalf. After Unohana Retsu got Ichimaru Jin's answer, she didn't stay here anymore and headed in the direction of Beidaemon. Ichimaru Jin looked in the direction of Jufin. The other side. Tusen Kanami, who was fighting against Sajin in the village, also received Manos Grande's lead. Standing in the light film, Tusen Kanami said to Komamura Sajin, Komamura, looking forward to our next meeting, I will let you know what real power is. Komamura Sajin roared, Tusen. Come out, don't be obsessed anymore. Tusen Kanami shook his head. Taking the village, you don't understand. If you had my experience, you wouldn't persuade me like this. If he hadn't been crushed by the teenage rookie Qian Ye, he might not be so eager to pursue stronger power at this moment. Although Komamura Sajin was helpless, he had no choice but to take Tusen Kanami standing in the light film. Saraiti, Beidaemon. Aizen Sōsuke smiled and looked at Qian Ye. Then there will be a period later. As soon as Aizen Sōsuke's voice fell, the golden light above his head flourished. Then, a piece of the ground under Aizen Sōsuke's feet was forcibly pulled out, supporting Aizen Sōsuke, and rising towards the black cavity in the air within the light film. The same goes for Ichimaru Jin and Tusen Kanami. Finally, the three Aizen Sōsuke were held in hands by Jillian Manos Grande and retracted into the black cavity with them. Subsequently, the black cavity disappeared. And Qian Ye and others can no longer perceive Aizen Sōsuke, Ichimaru Jin and Tusen Kanami's Reiatsu. Obviously, they have completely left Soul Society and headed to Hueco Mundo. Unohana Retsu came to Qian Ye and said, let me see, you are not injured. Qian Ye looked in the direction of the Confession Palace. Sister Wa, I'm fine, but I don't know what happened to Rukia Kuchiki. Saraiti, Confessional Palace. After Byakuya Kuchiki was the first to arrive here, he found that the Shinigami guards here were all lying on the ground, not knowing whether they were alive or dead. Rukia Kuchiki was limp on the ground, and Byakuya Kuchiki hurried over to check. Byakuya Kuchiki realized that Rukia Kuchiki had only been knocked out, and he was relieved. After an hour, first team meeting room. Captain Yamamoto Motoyanagi Sai Shigekuni, with a solemn face, sat in the first place with a cane. He kept this action for half an hour. Except Aizen Sōsuke, Tusen Kanami and Ichimaru Jin who have fled to Hueco Mundo. All the captains of Gotei 13th Division are here now. However, everyone did not speak, and waited quietly for Yamamoto Genryu Sai Shigekuni to digest this event that was definitely a sensation for Soul Society. A few more minutes passed. Yamamoto Motoyanagi Sai Shigekuni finally raised his head, with an unprecedented dignified expression on his face. Although he had finished interrogating Qian Ye alone, he had already guessed that the person Qian Ye was talking about was Aizen Sōsuke. But never thought that Aizen Sōsuke planned such a big conspiracy. Where is Qian Ye? The captains did not expect that the first sentence of Yamamoto Yuan Lujai Chongguo was to ask Qian Ye. Broken B said. Qian Ye is now being interrogated by Chojiro Sasaki in the interrogation room of the first team because he killed the guard of Beidaemon. Go and bring the kid Qian Ye, and join in this team leader meeting. Broken B nodded, got up and walked outside. She planned to go in person. Interrogation room of the first team. There is no interrogation and interrogation atmosphere here. Shojiro Sasaki sat on the chair behind the interrogation table, while Qian Ye sat on the interrogation table. Qian Ye, hey, you said it would be great if you didn't kill Yiguan Ban Xiaodanfang. Shojiro Sasaki is a sigh from the bottom of my heart. If Qian Ye hadn't killed the guard at Baidaemon, after this incident. For the 3 captains that were vacated, Qian Ye must be able to choose one of them to succeed. Qian Ye said, I'm not rushing into the jingling court to save teacher Rukia, who made the stupid man not open the door for me. Quote. Linked with these sages are the nobles who live in jingling court. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Therefore, they will definitely seize this opportunity, thinking of trying to clean up and suppress Qian Ye, and even put Qian Ye to death. Seeing that Shojiro Sasaki had already begun to think of shirking for him, Qian Ye was a little touched. Thank you, Vice Captain Sasaki. Qian Ye. Well, today we guarantee 10 more, and strive for 15 more. I hope everyone will customize it. Although this reason can't stand scrutiny, it can barely be used as an excuse to make this matter small. Shojiro Sasaki didn't say it through, Qian Ye already understood the meaning of his words. Although the current Central 46 has been obliterated, it will soon be reorganized from those nobles. I can help you fool around this matter in front of the public, but Yiguan Bangziu Danfang has an older brother named Yiguan Banshi Lufang. At that time, I am afraid that Captain Haifantani will also trouble you. Also, although Yiguan Banji Lufang is the seat officer of the 7th Division, he has a very good relationship with the 10th Division Captain Hitsugaya Toshiro. When Qian Ye was tried, he led several captains to protest against Central 46's verdict. In fact, he was contradicting the interests of those nobles. It's always Banshi Lufang as the 4th seat of the 7th Division. After he learns that you killed his brother, I'm afraid he won't let it go. Shojiro Sasaki put away an awkward smile, and said with some worry. For those nobles, Qian Ye may still affect their interests in the future. Shojiro Sasaki had an awkward smile on his face, he naturally did not believe Qian Ye's excuse. Yes, there are also the nobles behind Central 46 leaders. Although Central 46 killed you, you were wrong by Aizen, but you did take the lead in protesting Central 46's decision before. The people at Central 46 are the so-called sages of Soul Society. Chapter 103, Aizen still got Hōgyoku, 2/10. Advertise here. Qian Ye didn't worry much about this. In Qian Ye's view, as long as one's own strength is strong enough, what about the nobles of Soul Society? If those nobles dared to jump out to provoke him, Qian Ye plans to pick a few of the nobles who jumped the most, or the nobles he disliked the most to die. By killing chickens, emblems and monkeys for the rest of the nobles will be quiet. Of course, if those nobles continue to dance, Qian Ye will continue to kill until they dare not jump. As for the seat officer of the 7th Division, Banshi Lufang, Qian Ye was even more disregarded. The 7th seat is not to be feared. Broken Bee walked into the interrogation room of the first team and looked at Qian Ye, who was sitting on the interrogation table with some speechlessness. How could the scene of the interrogation room be different from what she imagined when she came here? When Broken Bee saw Qian Ye, he was still sitting at the interrogation table after seeing her coming. He had no intention of coming down at all, and was a little embarrassed. Qian Ye would not give her the face of Broken Bee. Her Broken Bee is, anyhow, the captain of the dignified 2nd Division. Shojiro Sasaki, deputy captain, the captain asked me to take Qian Ye to the captain meeting. Shojiro Sasaki, the interrogation on my side just finished 510, you take Qian Ye away. After speaking, Shojiro Sasaki gave Qian Ye a congratulatory look. Team captain Yamamoto Yuanryujaiju personally called and asked Qian Ye to attend the team captain meeting. That is a meeting that can only be attended at the captain level, and even the deputy captain is not eligible to participate. Of course, except for special circumstances, such as the interrogation of Rukia Kuchiki. However, this captain meeting is a bit special. The results of this meeting will directly affect the current relationship between Soul Society and Hueco Mundo. Qian Ye's ability to participate in this team captain meeting can only show that Hu Ting 13 will soon have a new captain in office. On the way from the interrogation room of the 1st Division to the conference room of the 1st Division, Broken Bee couldn't help but curiously asked, you and Shojiro Sasaki have a very good relationship. Qian Ye said, I'm not very familiar, I've seen it a few times. A string of black lines appeared on Broken Bee's head. She wanted to say how you looked like you had only seen it a few times in the interrogation room. By the way, how did you explain the killing of the guard at Baidaemon? Naturally tell the truth. See Deige was stunned. Actually, I also want to know why you want to kill Yiguan Ban Xiaodanfang. In fact, you don't have to kill him at all. Seeing that he was upset, I killed him. Broken Bee became even more speechless after getting Qian Ye's answer. Don't you say that in front of the captain. Qian Ye smiled and said, why, didn't you keep saying that you want to save Soul Society from the hidden danger of me? Is this caring about me now? Broken Bee didn't answer Qian Ye, but scolded Qian Ye as stinky in his heart. Soon, the two came to the meeting room of the first team. Hello captain, hello captains. Yamamoto Yuan Lujai Chongguo Chao Qian Ye nodded, and said, you can sit down anywhere you like. Qian Ye sat down in the place originally belonged to Aizen Sōsuke. After Qian Ye sat down, Yamamoto Yuan Lujaiju National Road. Then, let's officially start the meeting now. Captain Ujiha, Unohana Retsu was called by the captain and stood up. After I rescued Rukia, she told me that Aizen Sōsuke went to the Confession Palace first before the captains went to the White Road and took Hōgyoku directly from her body. That's right. Aizen Sōsuke originally planned to use Kyoka Suigetsu's ability to directly take Rukia Kuchiki to Mao's execution ground, and use Sokyoku to take Hōgyoku out of Rukia Kuchiki's body. When he came to Rukia Kuchiki, he discovered that he had an inexplicable connection with Hōgyoku in Rukia Kuchiki. So he tried to take Hōgyoku directly from Rukia Kuchiki. After Unohana Retsu sat down, the team leader Yamamoto Motoinagi Saiju. As Captain Unohana said, Aizen Sōsuke finally got Hōgyoku. Faced with Aizen who took Hōgyoku to escape to Hueco Mundo, and cooperated with Shu, the captains decided how to deal with it. This is the most important thing related to the relationship between Soul Society and Hueco Mundo. It is an old captain like Kiraku Shunsui, who was silent and did not answer. This kind of tricky matter is naturally left to the captain to decide. Seeing that no one answered, Yamamoto Yuanlujai Shigekuni looked at Qian Ye and said, Qian Ye, as one of the biggest victims of this Aizen incident, do you have anything to say? Qian Ye was called out suddenly, not surprised. When he was called for the captain's meeting, he had already guessed this moment. Qian Ye stood up and said, in fact, the victims of this incident are far more than me and Rukia Kuchiki, and Central 46, who was obliterated. It was more than 100 years ago. Yamamoto Yuanlujai Chongguo interrupted Qian Ye's words and said, Qian Ye doesn't need to continue to talk about it. For more than 100 years, let him pass for the time being. Let's solve the current problem first. Qian Ye looked at Yamamoto Yuanlujai Chongguo with some doubts. It seemed that the old man didn't know anything about what happened back then. Even if Yamamoto doesn't know the details, he must know a rough idea. Qian Ye realized that Yamamoto Yuanlujai was not as simple as he thought. Qian Ye then let go. A super old antique who has stayed for 2,000 years in the position of Captain Gotei 13 alone. If I was so easily fooled by Aizen Sōsuke, it would be really surprising. Now that Captain Aizen has acquired Hōgyoku, I think that after he gets the power of Hōgyoku, he will soon work on Soul Society. Well, keep talking. Although I don't know what he is going to do, I think we have to deal with it in advance and be ready to welcome Captain Aizen's Hueco Mundo attack on Soul Society. Since Yamamoto Genryu Saijukoku refused to let Qian Ye mention Hiroko Shinji and others more than 100 years ago, Qian Ye also pretended not to know what Aizen Sōsuke was going to do next. Isn't it just pretending to be confused? Who can't? Qian Ye is right, we must be ready at any time. Although Aizen Sōsuke has acquired Hōgyoku, it must take a certain amount of time for him to master the power of Hōgyoku. While Aizen Sōsuke started to act, on the one hand, we tried to find a way to investigate exactly what he was going to do, and on the other hand, we tried to improve our strength. Qian Ye sat back in his seat and wanted to investigate what Aizen Sōsuke was going to do. Then check it, you can find it anyway. Rather than Qian Ye speaking directly now, it's better to let the people from Soul Society check it out by themselves. If Qian Ye said it directly, it would be too suspicious. Then next, let's discuss the 3 vacant captain positions. Dear captains, do you have anyone to recommend? Chapter 104. Qian Ye, acting captain, 3/10. Advertise here. The captains here, seeing that Yamamoto Motonuzai Shigekuni killed Qian Ye on the murder of Yiguanban Xiaodanfang, they didn't mention a word. Instead, directly proposed the selection of the new captain. The captains knew everything in their hearts. In the minds of the team leader Yamamoto Yuanlujai Chongguo, Qian Ye must be one of the candidates for the new team leader. Then, Kiraku Shunsui was the first to stand up and said, I think Qian Ye is young and promising, and his strength is obvious to all. The loss of Soul Society in this Aizen incident can be minimized, and Qian Ye is even more indispensable. Kiraku Shunsui paused and continued. So, I think Qian Ye is one of the most suitable candidates for the new captain. Yamamoto Yuanlujai Shigekuni nodded and said, well, since Qian Ye is one of the most suitable candidates, what about the other candidates? Kiraku Shunsui was suddenly embarrassed. If he knew it, he wouldn't say one. However, since the captain asked, Kiraku Shunsui still bit the bullet and replied, I think we can let the deputy captain of the vacant captain team temporarily act as the captain. What about the rest? Does anyone choose to recommend? Unohana Retsu stood up and said, although Qian Ye is strong, he is too young, and he has just graduated from the Mao Spiritual Academy. The time to join Shisanban to become Shinigami is too short. I think I should let him follow me first. Experience and experience. Unohana Retsu paused and continued. As for the new captain, I think my current deputy captain Katetsu Aizen is a good guide. Although she is not as strong as the captains here, she does not lose to my captain in handling the affairs of the team. Hitsugaya Toshiro stood up and said, Captain Ujiha, are you looking down on our younger generation? Hitsugaya Toshiro had just graduated from the Mao Spiritual Academy and immediately became the captain. Unohana Retsu didn't know how to answer for a while, she couldn't say it. In fact, she thought that Qian Ye would leave the 4th division and go to another division to be the captain. For some reason, she felt a strong reluctance in her heart. How does this make her say it? Hitsugaya Toshiro saw Unohana Retsu blushing and did not speak, thinking that Unohana Retsu was ashamed of underestimating the younger generation, so he said to Yamamoto Motoinagi Saiju National Road. The captain, Qian Ye is indeed very young, but I believe he will be qualified for the position of captain. When he first became the captain, I will help him so that he can adapt to the position of captain as soon as possible. Komamura Sajin also stood up and said, when the old man was the captain, he didn't have any qualifications. It was the captain who looked up to the old man, and let the old man directly become the captain of the 7th division. The old man believes that Qian Ye, who also has no qualifications, should be able to qualified for the position of captain. Kuretsuchi Mayuri said, I think the mentality of little brother Qian Ye is definitely not comparable to that of a 16-year-old. I think he is more than enough to be the captain. Jashiro Yukitaki said, it is very simple to know whether Qian Ye is qualified for the role of captain. Before we have a suitable candidate for captain, it is better to let Qian Ye be the acting captain. Well, it's still reasonable for Shiro to say it. Yamamoto Motoinagisai Shigekuni slammed his crutches and continued. Then, let Qian Ye choose one of the 3 squads of the vacant captain to be the acting captain. Qian Ye, the 3rd squad in charge of support, the 5th squad in charge of rescue, the 9th squad in charge of prison, among these 3 squads, you choose one of the squads to be the acting captain. Oh, captain acting. And let yourself choose a squad. Qian Ye thought for a while, and then said, the seat I sit now should be the captain of the 5th division. Then I will choose the 5th division. In the end, Yamamoto Motoinagisai Shigekuni made the decision. Qian Ye was transferred from the 4th division team member to the 5th division team, replacing the former 5th division captain Aizen Sōsuke as the acting captain. The 5th division. In the yard, all the members of the 5th division, who went down to the ordinary players, went up to the seat officer and deputy captain, were all gathered in the yard at this time. Meet Qian Ye, the acting captain of the 5th division, who was personally appointed by the captain. At this time, Qian Ye was not only wearing a Death Tyrant outfit, but also Hanori, who was the captain of the representative team. On the yori behind Qian Ye, there are 5 big characters written. Below the 5 characters is the team flower representing the 5th division Ma Zuimu. Ma Zuimu means sacrifice and danger. This is in line with the mission of the 5th division responsible for rescue. Of course, Ma Zuimu also has a flower language, which represents pure love. For flowers. Perhaps it refers to Hinamori Momo's feelings for Aizen Sōsuke. At this time, Hinamori Momo stood in front of Qian Ye, with a terrible expression on his face, glaring at the newly appointed Qian Ye. Qian Ye, what qualifications do you have to replace Captain Aizen and come to our 5th division team as the acting captain? Obviously, although Hinamori Momo already knew that Aizen Sōsuke had fled to Hueco Mundo, she was poisoned too deeply to accept this reality now. Especially, in Hinamori Momo's view, Aizen Sōsuke fled to Hueco Mundo. It was not Aizen Sōsuke's premeditated plan, but Qian Ye. Qian Ye is the culprit of Aizen Sōsuke's accident. It was Qian Ye that made her no longer see the best Captain Aizen in her mind every day. Therefore, suddenly, Hinamori Momo couldn't accept it anyway. Qian Ye came to replace Aizen Sōsuke. Point 0. Deputy Captain, don't do this, this is an order from the captain himself. The seats of the 5th division all came forward to persuade Hinamori Momo. Hinamori Momo still glared at Qian Ye. Qian Ye, you want me to work with you, don't think about it. Wait for Reiatsu, they have never felt it even in Aizen Sōsuke. Qian Ye, I saw some readers who said that I was a liar and couldn't complete 10 chapters. I tried hard, and if I tried my life today, I will have 10 chapters, no, today I want 15 chapters. Qian Ye, who had always come to the post with a smile, put away the smile on his face and released Reiatsu. Gathering here to welcome Qian Ye's 5th division team members, all felt the horror Reiatsu from Qian Ye. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Hinamori Momo felt Qian Ye's terrifying Reiatsu, biting his lip and said, yes, the deputy captain, the captain has ordered you to cooperate with Captain Qian Ye and manage the 5th division. Boom. They call Qian Ye the captain of Qian Ye, and it can be seen that they are not as resistant as Hinamori Momo to Qian Ye taking over this position. Qian Ye, would you only use this method to force me? If it was Captain Aizen, he would definitely not use such brutal methods. You can't compare with Captain Aizen at all. As soon as Hinamori Momo's voice fell, Qian Ye's Reiatsu pushed the whole person to the ground. Chapter 105, New Deputy Captain. Matsumoto Rangaku, 4/10. Advertise here. Facing Qian Ye Reiatsu's pressure, Wei Sentao bit her lip and tried to get up. Pity. After biting her mouth, she still couldn't stand up, so she could only lie on the ground, unwilling to look at Qian Ye's feet slowly walking towards her. Qian Ye came to Hinamori Momo, knelt down, and then grabbed her bundled hair. Hinamori Momo had a pain, his face had to look up at Qian Ye. Hinamori Momo, it is not your turn for Qian Ye to approve it. If you don't want to work with me, you don't need to be the deputy captain of the 5th division. I will apply to the top and transfer you to another division. Quote. After listening to Qian Ye's words, Hinamori Momo felt very humiliated, and tears couldn't help streaming. Qian Ye let go of Hinamori Momo. He was afraid that he would continue to look at this extremely pitiful face and could not help kicking. 510. Poor person must have something mean. Aizen Sōsuke deceived and took advantage of Hinamori Momo's feelings for him, but feelings have always been your wish. If it wasn't for Hinamori Momo himself, Aizen Sōsuke would not be able to use it. Hinamori Momo, listen, I don't care what Aizen Sōsuke is in your mind, but now I am the acting captain of the 5th division. If you continue to be so rude to me, I don't mind teaching you anything. It's respect. Although Qian Ye had some twists and turns in his appointment, he succeeded in taking over the position of Aizen Sōsuke and became the acting captain of the 5th division. You have become the acting captain of the 5th division, and you will receive a hidden event reward, Spiritual Power Plus 100. But, Qian Ye's first day in office. His deputy captain Hinamori Momo went on strike. Qian Ye doesn't mind this either, isn't it just that no one will assist him in completing the captain's job? It's a big deal by yourself. Sitting in the captain's room, Qian Ye picked up a document piled up on the table. Qian Ye opened it and looked at it. It was a trivial matter in the 5th division team. All that was needed was Qian Ye's signature. So Qian Ye signed his name without hesitation. You dealt with the affairs of the 5th division captain and received the event reward, Spiritual Power Plus 10. You dealt with captain level things for the first time, and you get a hidden event reward, Spiritual Power Plus 100. Look, isn't this simple? Qian Ye was very satisfied with his performance. You only need to sign a name, and you can also get spiritual rewards. That's great. While Qian Ye was talking to himself, he picked up a document. The document this time is a request for instructions, and Qian Ye needs to give instructions on how to do it. Qian Ye didn't understand, so he threw it aside and didn't deal with it first, and then picked up a document again. I'm going to ask for instructions again. Qian Ye finally found a document that only needed to be signed after taking a few minutes of documents in a row. After Qian Ye signed his name, a reminder sounded in his mind again. You dealt with the affairs of the 5th division captain and received the event reward, Spiritual Power Plus 10. Cool. 2 hours later, Qian Ye turned into a bitter face as he watched the more and more files piled up on him. Obviously, the speed at which he handles these things is not as fast as he sends in the things that the 5th division needs to deal with from time to time. Another hour later, Qian Ye looked at the files piled up on the desk, and felt very upset. It turns out that the higher the position, the more important the work is, and it is not only applicable to the 4th division. In fact, most of the team's affairs are handled by the deputy captain, and only the important ones are handled by the captain himself. No way. Who made Qian Ye's deputy captain Hinamori Momo go on strike? Qian Ye leaned his head back on the seat, picked up a document and opened it, then covered his face and started to fall asleep. Go to the team leader's affairs, go to the special spiritual reward. Only 10 points of spiritual power are rewarded every time an incident is handled, and Qian Ye feels a headache every time an incident is handled. Qian Ye's heart is full, isn't it just 10 points of spiritual power reward? Not rare. Qian Ye didn't know how long he slept, and suddenly he felt someone pinch his nose. Qian Ye opened his eyes and saw a pair of big waves in his eyes. The man who pinched Qian Ye's nose, saw that Qian Ye was awake, and giggled nonstop. However, she still kept the posture of slightly bending over, holding Qian Ye's nose with her hand. It was getting late at this time, and the setting sun hung to the west. The person who bends down to pinch Qian Ye's nose has long wavy golden hair. There is a mole on her mouth that looks quite sexy, and her neck is wearing a necklace dotted with silver rings. The necklace hangs down to her heart. Because of her bolder clothes, she looked particularly bright and moving under the golden sunset. After Qian Ye saw who came, he slapped the hand holding his nose away, sat up straight and looked at the person. Vice Captain Matsumoto, what are you doing here? That's right, the person here is Matsumoto Rangaku, the deputy captain of the 10th division. Matsumoto Rangaku straightened up, his eyes flashing. Captain Qian Ye, do you know me? Qian Ye said. Deputy Captain Matsumoto is one of the most outstanding deputy captains in the entire Gotei 13th round. Of course I know him. Matsumoto Rangaku didn't know that Qian Ye's most outstanding refers to her iconic. Matsumoto Rangaku only thought that Qian Ye was complimenting her. She had betrayed Soul Society because of Ichimaru Jin, and her mood of fleeing to Hueco Mundo was somewhat eased. Matsumoto Rangaku looked angrily at the files piled up on the table. Qian Ye, you guy who doesn't know how to pity and cherish Jade. Qian Ye was overjoyed. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Ah, so, now you are my deputy captain. After all, I came here with such a superb vice captain. Wouldn't it be too wasteful to take it with him for a drink? Qian Ye pointed to the files piled up on the table and said. Then, Deputy Captain Matsumoto, as a welcome to you to be transferred to the 5th Division team as the deputy captain, you should deal with these files first. Matsumoto Rangaku hasn't reacted yet. Qian Ye has turned the window and ran out. Of course. Qian Ye nodded. He did submit such an application. Captain Qian Ye, didn't you apply to the above to remove the deputy captain of Hinamori Momo from the 5th Division? Matsumoto Rangaku smiled and said, yeah, although people are reluctant to bear Captain Toshiro, between Hinamori Momo and me, chose to abandon me. 4.9 Now people are so sad, Captain Qian Ye, invite me to a bar. Quote. What? Outside the window, Qian Ye's voice came further and further away, it must be done before tomorrow. Come on, I am optimistic about you, Vice Captain Matsumoto. Oh, drink you big head ghost. So, at the request of Captain Toshiro, Hinamori Momo was transferred to the 10th Division to be the deputy captain, and I was transferred to you by Captain Toshiro disgustingly and served you as the deputy captain. Drink wine. Chapter 106. The Sleeping Sister Wa 5/10. Advertise here. Matsumoto Rangaku faced the desk, the pile of papers. There is a kind of kick that is about to collapse, and my heart is shaking with anger. Don't you know that what people hate most is dealing with these boring files? Ah, I really want to drink. Although Matsumoto Rangaku has a bold personality, at work, he likes to be lazy the most. Perhaps, Hitsugaya Toshiro transferred her to the 5th Division and served as deputy captain for Qian Ye. In addition to his special feelings for Hinamori Momo, Matsumoto Rangaku likes to be lazy at work, which is also one of the reasons. Matsumoto Rangaku didn't want to deal with these documents on the desk anyway. But, Qian Ye no longer knows where he is going. Matsumoto Rangaku had no choice but to sit on the chair Qian Ye was sitting on before, and then picked up a document and started processing. After processing some documents, she couldn't stand it anymore, and buried her head in the pile of documents. Then Matsumoto Rangaku remained in these 23 positions, without moving. Of course, Qian Ye didn't know this. After someone finished the work for him, Qian Ye is now in a good mood, humming a small song to the 4th team. When the 4th Division saw Qian Ye coming, they all greeted with a smile. Captain Qian Ye, you are here. Captain Qian Ye, congratulations, for being the acting captain of the 5th Division. Qian Ye smiled and said, I started as a team member as the acting captain. Come on, I believe you can do it too. The members of the 5th Division team smiled and didn't say anything. Can they do it? They still know in their hearts that they won't be blindly arrogant because of Qian Ye's encouragement. Katetsu Aizen walked over. Captain Qian Ye, why are you so free to come to the 4th Division? Is there something to find Sister Wa? Qian Ye said. No, yes, I have something to find Sister Wa. Qian Ye watched Yamada Hanadura walking towards him and changed his mind. Sister Wa is in your dormitory. Go straight to it. Qian Ye is a little confused, what is Unohana Retsu doing in his dormitory? Did he have something left there? At this time, Yamada Hanadura had already arrived in front of Qian Ye. Captain Qian Ye, congratulations. Qian Ye said, I congratulate you too. Congratulations. Congratulations what? Qian Ye did not answer, but walked towards his dormitory in the 4th Division. 4th Division, Qian Ye's original dormitory. Unohana Retsu was lying on Qian Ye's bed at this time, hugging Qian Ye's pillow, fell asleep. After Qian Ye came in, he was a little speechless when he saw this scene. Because, if Unohana Retsu is sleepy and doesn't sleep in her own room, why come here? Could it be that Qian Ye left something here? Unohana Retsu knew Qian Ye would come back, so wait for him here. But Qian Ye thought about it carefully, he really has nothing left here. Qian Ye didn't know, he didn't have something left here, but took something away. Just when Qian Ye walked towards Unohana Retsu suddenly sat up with a pillow, and looked at Qian Ye with dim sleepy eyes. Hey, Qian Ye, why are you here, am I still dreaming? Oh, Qian Ye frowned. Unohana Retsu was dreaming just now, is there him in the dream? Qian Ye wanted to know what Unohana Retsu dreamed about, and said. Yeah, you are still dreaming. Unohana Retsu suddenly threw the pillow she was holding towards Qian Ye. Qian Ye, you have become bolder, when will you dare to tease your captain? It turned out that Unohana Retsu was awake long ago, and Qian Ye was a little embarrassed. Sister Wa, you are no longer my captain now. A trace of loneliness flashed in Unohana Retsu's eyes. Yeah, you are now the acting captain of the 5th Division. It will probably not be long before you will become the acting captain and become the official captain. Thanks. Unohana Retsu sorted it out, she was a little messy death tyrant because of sleeping. She was relieved when she saw that there was no serious problem. It seemed that there was no scenery that Qian Ye shouldn't see. After doing this, Unohana Retsu looked at Qian Ye. Then, acting captain Qian Ye of the 5th Division, what's the matter with you coming to the 4th Division? I want to ask Sister Wa to be transferred to the 5th Division. Unohana Retsu saw that Qian Ye was looking for someone to ask her, not as she thought, and felt a little angry. Then, Unohana Retsu deliberately pulled her face down, leaned in front of Qian Ye, and asked in a cold voice. Yes, not only did you change your own job, you also want to dig my corner. No matter where I go, you will always be my captain, Sister Wa. That's not bad. Let's talk about who you want. Yongyan is too capable, I won't give it to you. Yamada Hanaduro, the monitor of what class and class? You don't even know what position Yamada Hanaduro is, you want him. Oh, he's fine. Well, You can take away people, but since you are here, let's hand over to Yongyan. Qian Ye was taken aback. The so-called handover refers to his previous mission in the 4th Division. However, although he was the squad leader of the ambulance squad for a few days, he quickly became an ordinary team member. There should be no work to be handed over. After half an hour. The 4th Division Hall, Yamada Hanadoro learned that Unohana Retsu asked him to pack his things in the 4th Division and went to the 4th Division lobby. Yamada Hanadoro is very ambitious. Is it because he has committed a big mistake he doesn't know and is about to be kicked out of the 4th Division? Sister Wa, me. Yamada Hanadoro 510. Exist. Qian Ye. Damn it, the last chapter was banned. Obviously I didn't write anything, but I described the appearance of Matsumoto Rangaku. It's uncomfortable. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Whether you are up to the task, I have the final say. Don't rush, hurry up to hand over the work, and then follow me. Yamada Hanadoro, carrying a baggage, sat on the ground paralyzed after hearing this. What, was he really kicked out of the 4th Division team? After Yamada Hanadoro left, Kotetsu Aizen came to Qian Ye. And Qian Ye knew that Tetsuyuki Yuin was going to carry out the handover that Unohana Retsu said. Qian Ye smiled and said, Yamada Hanadoro, from now on, you will be my adjutant, responsible for assisting me in managing everything in the 5th Division. Yamada Hanadoro looked up at Qian Ye. Captain Qian Ye, shall I go to the 5th Division with you? Yamada Hanadoro also understood that Qian Ye was in the yard before and said congratulations to him. You go to hand over your work, and then go to the 5th Division with Qian Ye. What? Yamada Hanadoro realized that he was not kicked out of the 4th Division, but promoted. From now on, you will no longer be the squad leader of the 14th upper-level ambulance squad of the 4th Division. Captain Qian Ye, I can't do such an important job. Qian Ye, thank you for the 173xx monthly ticket support, thank you very much. Chapter 107. Robbery from Sister Wa, 6/10. Advertise here. Qian Ye looked at Chao's face reddening, as if he was embarrassed to speak Kotetsu Aizen. Deputy Captain Yongyan, I didn't do much work in the 4th Division, so I don't need to hand over, right? After Kotetsu Aizen glanced at Unohana Retsu, he boldly said. No, Captain Qian Ye, you have a job to hand over to me, and it's a very important job. Oh, very important job. Qian Ye thought about it for a while, but couldn't remember what job he had and needed to hand over with Kotetsu Aizen. Then, Qian Ye asked. I don't know what is very important and important work. Kotetsu Aizen reached out to Qian Ye. Captain Qian Ye, don't pretend, let's get it. Qian Ye is even more confused, what the hell is it? Kotetsu Aizen saw that Qian Ye didn't give her something, so he looked at Unohana Retsu again, and saw that Unohana Retsu was looking at her encouragingly. Kotetsu Aizen again boldly said, Captain Qian Ye, now you have left the 4th Division, then you asked Captain Ni to give us the special healing medicine developed by the 4th Division, shouldn't the share this month give us the 4th Division? Team up. Qian Ye was quite speechless. When did he say that the special healing medicine was specially developed for the 4th Division? Captain Qian Ye, you can't give special healing medicine to the 4th Division just because you are not a member of the 4th Division. Only then did Qian Ye know. When Unohana Retsu went to the Technical Development Bureau to look for him, Unohana Retsu began to ask Kuritsuchi Mayuri for special healing medicine. When Unohana Retsu learned that the ownership of the special healing medicine was Qian Ye's, he happily pulled Qian Ye away. Original. Unohana Retsu took the special healing medicine as the 4th Division. Well, this is embarrassing. Yep. Kotetsu Aizen looked at Qian Ye, who did not act, and raised her hand in front of Qian Ye. Qian Ye had no choice but to say, Sister Wa, let's do this. You send Deputy Captain Yongyan to the Technology Development Bureau every month, and ask Captain Ni to receive 600 special healing medicines, 1. At this moment, Unohana Retsu spoke up. Why is it 600? Can't they all be given to the 4th Division? Qian Ye said, Sister Wa, it's true that I am using the remaining 400 special healing medicines. Unohana Retsu looked a little upset when she heard this. Qian Ye, you can't use that much by yourself. And with your current strength, there are not many people who can hurt you in the entire Soul Society, right? Qian Ye said. Sister Wa, I'm really useful. Well, I'll keep 100 for you every month. Qian Ye is speechless, this is Kai Guguo's robbery. Sister Wa, do you know the condition of Captain Jashiro? Unohana Retsu nodded, she was naturally aware of Jashiro Yukataki's condition. Rao is the captain of the 4th Division of Unohana Retsu, and there is no way to take Jashiro Yukataki's condition. After all, no matter how powerful Kaido of Unohana Retsu is, it can't regenerate Jashiro Yukataki's internal organs taken away by the Spirit King. If I say that special healing medicine is useful for relieving Jashiro Yukataki's pain when he gets sick, do you believe Sister Wa? This is impossible, right? It's impossible, Sister Wa, just ask Captain Jashiro. Unohana Retsu knew how Qian Ye couldn't bear the special healing medicine, and would not use it to deceive her. Well, then you take you into the Technical Development Bureau to explain to Kuritsuchi Mayuri, and by the way, let you in get back this month's special healing medicine. Unohana Retsu paused and continued. I'm afraid that Yuan won't be able to deal with Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Qian Ye nodded. Indeed, Kuretsuchi Mayuri is not something everyone can handle, especially Katetsu Aizen's character is still very introverted and timid. Seeing Qian Ye's promise, Unohana Retsu left the 4th squad and went to the outskirts where the 13th squad house was located. It's not that she doesn't believe Qian Ye. Instead, the special healing medicine has a relieving effect on Jashiro Yukitaki's condition. This is a big event for her captain of the 4th division. She needs to witness it in person. After Unohana Retsu left the 4th division, Yamada Hanadoro, who completed the handover of work, walked in. Captain Qian Ye, Vice Captain Yongyan, where's Sister Hua? Qian Ye said. Sister Hua has left, where should you be in the 5th division team house, right? Yamada Hanadoro nodded. I have something else here. You can go to the 5th division first. After half an hour, the sky was completely dark. A moon is rising quietly. In the moonlight, in front of the Technology Development Bureau. Katetsu Aizen's hands pulling Qian Ye's clothes trembled slightly. Obviously, she was a little scared. For the entire Gotei 13th chapter, I am afraid of Kuretsuchi Mayuri's Shinigami, which is really quite a lot. Katetsu Aizen was extremely scared because of his personality. It's okay, with me here, Brother Ne won't do anything to you. Katetsu Aizen nodded, but he refused to let go of Qian Ye's hand. Qian Ye had to leave her alone. At this time, a seemingly familiar Shinigami of the Technology Development Bureau came out. Then Shinigami saw Qian Ye staring at him, and hurriedly smiled and said, Captain Qian Ye, are you here? After Qian Ye heard the voice of the other party, only then did he remember who the other party was. Isn't this the one who prevented him from entering the Technology Development Bureau and was taught by Qian Ye? Qian Ye saw that the other party had a very good attitude right now, like a good boy who obediently corrected after making a mistake. He smiled and nodded without answering. Seeing that Qian Ye didn't mean to embarrass him, Shinigami hurriedly left. Lead-as Katetsu Aizen faced Qian Ye without fear in his heart. Master Qian Ye, if it were not for her relatively introverted personality, she would even want to joke with Qian Ye. She lifted her eyes, and the look of solving the case flashed in her eyes. Nianmeng's name for Qian Ye is still Lord Qian Ye, just as she has always called Kuretsuchi Mayuri as Lord Yuri. Evil. After seeing Qian Ye, Kuretsuchi Mayuri walked up to meet him quickly, looking a little excited. Qian Ye seems to be more terrifying than Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Nianmeng held a pile of documents and quickly followed Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Qian Ye, you came just right, and I happen to have something to find you. Qian Ye took Katetsu Aizen all the way to the Technical Development Bureau. Upon seeing this, Katetsu Aizen pulled Qian Ye's hand folded, wondering if he should take it back. Aya Ono in the corner looked at Katetsu Aizen who was pulling Qian Ye's clothes. It seems that tomorrow's regular meeting of the Shinigami Association of Women, she has new clues to publish. Because people from the Technology Development Bureau smiled and greeted Qian Ye. Judging from the performance of Shinigami just now. Chapter 108. Spiritual Space Installation Drawings, 7/10. Advertise here. Nianmeng calls Qian Ye a special name, naturally because Qian Ye has a special place in her heart. When Qian Ye was still a student of the Mao Spiritual Academy, Nianmeng called Qian Ye this way. Qian Ye pulled Katetsu Aizen who was hiding behind him in front of him. Captain Nirvana, in the future, please give out 600 special healing medicines every month to the 4th division. Captain Yongyan will come to pick it up at the end of each month. The remaining 400 will be the deputy captain of the Trouble Sound Dream, and continue to give it to Jashiro. The captain sends it. Kuretsuchi Mayuri nodded. These special healing medicines are all you, and you can deal with them whatever you want. Kuretsuchi Mayuri pulled Qian Ye and said, come with me now, I have something to tell you. Qian Ye said to Katetsu Aizen, Deputy Captain Yongyan, you can go directly to Deputy Captain Yinmeng to receive this month's special healing medicine. From now on, you can come directly to Vice Captain Yinmeng every month today. Katetsu Aizen wanted to say something, but Qian Ye had already followed Kuretsuchi Mayuri away. Kuretsuchi Mayuri brought Qian Ye to the special room where he developed the spiritual bomb before. Little brother Qian Ye, now we can proceed with the improvement and manufacture of spiritual bombs in a fair and open manner. Yep, Kuretsuchi Mayuri explained. Because I am about to face Aizen Sōsuke's Hueco Mundo, an attack on Soul Society, the captain specially allowed me to continue to make 510 spiritual bombs. So, Qian Ye guessed what Kuretsuchi Mayuri said to him if something happened. So, do I need to continue to provide spiritual power? Yes, this is the command of the captain, don't you refuse, little brother Qian Ye. Qian Ye said, whatever brother Ni said, depending on our relationship, I will definitely agree. Ha ha ha. Kuretsuchi Mayuri smiled happily and excitedly, without saying anything nasty. The relationship between him and Qian Ye, the two of them can understand by themselves. Then, come and provide spiritual power once a day from now on. Qian Ye almost fell. Once a day. It turns out that it was not only Unohana Retsu who robbed Qian Ye today, but also Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Of course, after the captain personally saw the power of the psychic bomb, he personally gave me an order, hoping that when the war starts, all the Shinigami of Gotei 13 can be used with psychic bombs. The reason why Yamamoto Motonyagi Saijukoku gave Kuretsuchi Mayuri such an order was naturally to minimize his own casualties and increase his chances of winning after the war began. Well, let the deputy captain Yinmeng take the instrument directly to the 5th division to find me to extract spiritual power every day. It is too troublesome for me to come here every day. Kuretsuchi Mayuri nodded. That's okay. Before, Qian Ye provided Kuretsuchi Mayuri with spiritual power that could not be made public, because he was afraid of revealing things. Now, since the captain has personally approved it, naturally, there is no need to worry about so much. You have agreed to Kuretsuchi Mayuri's request to provide spiritual power once a day, and get a hidden event reward, spiritual power plus 10. Spiritual power space installation drawing X1. Yep, spiritual space installation drawings. What is this? Qian Ye immediately checked. Spiritual space installation drawings. Record the manufacturing method of the spiritual space installation. Close black lens bracket. Oh, that's it. After reading the introduction, Qian Ye still didn't know what it was. However, Qian Ye has a way to know. So, Qian Ye took advantage of Kuretsuchi Mayuri's turn to look at those instruments, and secretly took out the blueprint of the spiritual force space installation that he had just obtained. Brother Nirvana, look at this thing, can you make it? Kuretsuchi Mayuri curiously accepted the drawing in Qian Ye's hand. The pill that Qian Ye gave him last time was enough to surprise him. What good thing did Qian Ye give him this time? Kuretsuchi Mayuri glanced at the drawings Qian Ye handed him, and was immediately fascinated by it. If he were Monkey King, he might be too excited at this time and would make an action of scratching his head and ears. Of course, Kuretsuchi Mayuri is not a grandson monkey, so he didn't do that. However, Kuretsuchi Mayuri's voice was shaking. Little brother Qian Ye, where did you come from? Qian Ye said. Brother Ni, don't CDEJ ask, just tell me if you can make it. Although I think the installation on this drawing is incredible, I have a hunch that based on this drawing, I can really make the installation on this drawing. Seeing that Kuretsuchi Mayuri was so excited, Qian Ye was even more curious about what this so-called spiritual space device was. So Qian Ye asked, Brother Nirvana, what's the use of this thing after it is made? Yep, Kuretsuchi Mayuri looked at Qian Ye in surprise. This drawing belonged to Qian Ye. He thought Qian Ye knew what it was. It can be seen that Qian Ye has a curious look now, obviously he doesn't know. That, Kuretsuchi Mayuri's mind turned so fast that he quickly came to a conclusion. There is an expert behind Qian Ye. A scientist who is more powerful than him, not several times more powerful. Then, Kuretsuchi Mayuri held Qian Ye in front of the mountain and said, Little brother Qian Ye, brother Ni is good to you. Qian Ye nodded. Brother Niu didn't have any doubts about everything that happened before. He stood directly on my side. I knew it in my heart. It's fine if you understand, then can you show me the expert behind you? What? Qian Ye was taken aback. What an expert. Immediately, Qian Ye reacted. Kuretsuchi Mayuri should refer to the person who drew the blueprint of the spiritual space installation. There is no such person. Qian Ye's mind also turned quickly, and soon, Qian Ye thought of someone. Actually, you know that man, Brother Nirvana. Oh, who? Qian Ye said, Brother Ni should know that I have been in this world for a few days. Kuretsuchi Mayuri stopped talking suddenly, he thought he had guessed who that person was. At this time, thank you, Brother Ne. Qian Ye was overjoyed when seeing Kuretsuchi Mayuri thinking of the person he wanted him to think of. Thus, therefore, of course, Qian Ye did not intend to speak out. Not only can it be fooled now, and then it will be revealed, but it is also not necessary to admit that it is Kuretsuchi Mayuri who guessed it wrong. Urahara Kazuki sneezed. Who is scolding me? Urahara Kazuki can be regarded as Kuretsuchi Mayuri's benefactor, but Kuretsuchi Mayuri has a special feeling for Urahara Kazuki. Now Qian Ye doesn't explain, let Kuretsuchi Mayuri guess it by himself. When Kuretsuchi Mayuri goes to Urahara Kazuki for verification, he will show up. Urahara Kazuki looked at Kurosaki Ichigo in the underground pit, with surprise on his face. Presently, Karakura town. As for who the expert is, wait for it to be revealed before trying to figure out a solution. Otherwise, thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. After Kuretsuchi Mayuri guessed that the expert behind Qian Ye was Urahara Kazuki, he did not continue to ask. I will make it as soon as possible. Chapter 109. Ichigo awakens himself Shinigami God Power 8/10. Advertise here. Under the Urahara store, the soul of Kurosaki Ichigo is in the deep pit. In the struggle between becoming virtual and becoming Shinigami, I finally defeated becoming virtual and succeeded in gaining Shinigami's power. But it's not enough. Urahara Kazuki knew that Kurosaki Ichigo wanted to break into the Soul Society of the Masters, and rescue Kuchiki Lu, Kia. He also needs to master Shinigami's power, instead of commanding his super-large zanpakuto to hack as before. Therefore, Urahara Kazuki prepares to conduct special training for Kurosaki Ichigo. Certainly, The current Urahara Kazuki and others did not know that Aizen Sōsuke had taken Hōgyoku out of Rukia Kuchiki's body and had now escaped to Hueco Mundo. The current Kurosaki Ichigo, Isshin is thinking about regaining Shinigami's power. Go to Soul Society to save Rukia Kuchiki, who may be tortured by Sokyoku. And the other side, Inoue Orihime and Sato Yasutora continued to conduct special training under the guidance of Shihuin Yoruichi, who turned into a black cat. As for Ishida Ryu, after rejecting the special training invitation of the black cat that Shihuin Yoruichi became, he took the spirit gloves his grandfather had left him, and went to a place where there was no one alone. Now, Ishida Yulong is trying to master the power of wearing the spirit gloves. He also wants to help the Soul Society rescue Rukia Kuchiki plan. For the current Kurosaki Ichigo and others, every moment is racing against time. But don't know. Rukia Kuchiki doesn't need them to save, but Karakura town is about to face an unprecedented battle. Soul Society. The 5th Division. Yamada Hanadura was standing alone and helplessly in the courtyard. People from the 5th Division are all around. This one is carrying a baggage, looks weak, and has a timid little Shinigami on his face. You said you were made by Captain Qian Ye. I remember you seem to belong to the 4th Division, right? I know him. When I was injured and sent to the 4th Division for treatment, he was responsible. Shinigami of the 5th Division thought for a while and continued. I remember he seemed to be the 7th seat in the 4th Division, and he was also the squad leader of the 14th upper level ambulance team. Since you are the seat officer of the 4th Division, what do you bring your business to our 5th Division? Yamada Hanaduro said. I am Captain Qian Ye, let me come here to be his adjutant, and let me assist him with everything in the 5th Division. Ha ha ha, you said Captain Qian Ye came to let you help him deal with everything in our squad. Only you. Do you think we believe it? You didn't make any mistakes in the 4th Division. The 4th Division was driven out and there was nowhere to go, so did you come to our 5th Division? When the 5th team laughed at Yamada Hanaduro, a figure floated out of the captain's room lightly. It was Matsumoto Rangaku, the new deputy captain of the 5th Division, who was forced to stay in the captain's room to help Qian Ye handle the affairs of the 5th Division captain. After she heard the noise outside in the captain's room, she thought it was Qian Ye who came back. It turned out that it was not, when I was disappointed. But I heard Yamada Hanaduro saying that it was Qian Ye who came to help deal with all the affairs of the 5th Division. Matsumoto Rangaku immediately regained his spirit as if he had found a life-saving straw. Then, rushed out for the first time. Are you really looking for Qian Ye to help him deal with all the affairs of the 5th Division? Yamada Hanaduro looked at him. Matsumoto Rangaku, who was very close to him, was dressed boldly, and his face turned red in an instant. Yes, Captain Qian Ye has something to do with Vice Captain Yongyan to the Science and Technology Development Bureau. Let me come here to wait for him first. Matsumoto Rangaku directly pulled Yamada Hanaduro towards the captain's room. Don't wait for him, just start your work, right? Ah, what job? Handling the 5th Division's affairs. That's all. In the 5th team, Yamada Hanaduro was taken to the captain's room by Matsumoto Rangaku. Matsumoto Rangaku pointed to the file that was still like a hill, and there was no reduction in it compared to when Qian Ye left. Let's get started, Qian Ye said. It must be processed by tomorrow. Then, not waiting for Yamada Hanaduro to react, Matsumoto Rangaku learned what Qian Ye had done before and opened the window lightly. After Matsumoto Rangaku left, he did not forget to learn Qian Ye's words and said. For flowers, Hanaro, come on, I am optimistic about you. Then, Matsumoto Rangaku quickly left the 5th Division. She learned from Yamada Hanaduro that Qian Ye and Katetsu Aizen had gone to the Technical Development Bureau. So I plan to go to the Technology Development Bureau to find Qian Ye to settle the accounts. Qian Ye, you are too damn it. I just transferred to you as the deputy captain, you dare to cheat me. Technology Development Bureau. After Qian Ye and Kuritsuchi Mayuri made an agreement, they walked out of the special room where Kuritsuchi Mayuri developed and made spiritual bombs. When Qian Ye came out, he happened to see Katetsu Aizen walking over with a big bag. Qian Ye knew that what was in the bag was the special healing medicine she had just received from Nianmang. Katetsu Aizen blushed and nodded. Qian Ye continued. However, you have to help me explain to your sister. I didn't bully you, let her not come to me to settle accounts. Katetsu Aizen successfully received the special healing medicine, but his nervousness finally eased. Captain Qian Ye, how are you? You tricked me into handling things for you in the captain's room, but you are picking up girls here. Then, oh, don't thank me, it's me. I want to thank Vice Captain Yang Yin for your presence. I took care of me when I was in the 4th Division. Deputy Captain Matsumoto, why do you come to me when you have time? Is everything done? Qian Ye said, Deputy Captain Yongyan, go back first. I will explain to Vice Captain Matsumoto. Escaped here quickly. Qian Ye saw Matsumoto Rangaku's eyes dodge when he heard the words, and did not dare to look at him, knowing that Matsumoto Rangaku had obviously not finished his work. Where? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. After Katetsu Aizen heard the word picking up girl, her pretty face instantly turned red and hurriedly said. Katetsu Aizen blushed and nodded towards Qian Ye. Oh, It's okay. When Qian Ye and Kotetsu Aizen came to the outside of the Technical Development Bureau, they happened to see an angry and trembling Matsumoto Rangaku approaching here. Captain Qian Ye, thank you. Kotetsu Aizen hurriedly bent over to apologize to Qian Ye. Captain Qian Ye is sorry, my sister caused you trouble. Vice Captain Matsumoto, you misunderstood, I was not dunked. No, Captain Qian Ye did not dub me, nor Chapter 110. Meet Bankai opening requirements 9/10. Advertise here. Oh, Captain Qian Ye, today is your first day in office, and also the first day of my transfer. On such an important day today, you can't understand how you talk about work with me. Let's go to a bar, I invite you. Quote. Matsumoto Rangaku took Qian Ye's arm and pulled Qian Ye towards the west of Seraiti. There is the best wine shop in Jinglington. Qian Ye wanted to refuse, but he could feel the unusually elastic squeezing from his arm. He let Matsumoto Rangaku take his arm and walk to the west. After half an hour, inside a wine shop called Yoshino Winery, Matsumoto Rangaku asked for a private room, then pulled Qian Ye into it. Later, Matsumoto Rangaku ordered a lot of alcohol and then drank it. After Matsumoto Rangaku blew a bottle directly, he looked at Qian Ye and said, Qian Ye, May 3rd, Captain, why don't you drink it? Qian Ye said, I don't like drinking very much, and what? And you don't seem to be drunk anymore. That's natural. If you are out for a drink, you have to have a good time. As Matsumoto Rangaku spoke, a trace of loneliness flashed in his eyes. Qian Ye said, if I get drunk, who will send you back? Okay, then I'll drink it myself. Qian Ye said, okay, I'll take this wine, you can drink as much as you like. Qian Ye knows. Don't look at Matsumoto Rangaku, who looks nothing, but she feels very sad. Matsumoto Rangaku felt uncomfortable, naturally because Ichimaru-jin betrayed Soul Society and followed Aizen Sōsuke to Hueco Mundo. Matsumoto Rangaku and Ichimaru-jin were childhood sweethearts when they were in Rukongai, and their relationship is very good. This time Ichimaru-jin defected, Matsumoto Rangaku was definitely the saddest one. It didn't take long. Matsumoto Rangaku drank more than a dozen bottles of wine alone, but luckily they were all sake. Although Matsumoto Rangaku was not drunk, his face turned red and he was obviously a little drunk. At this time, Matsumoto Rangaku began to talk about her and Ichimaru-jin's childhood. Qian Ye pretended to be a listener while yawning. Because, those things Matsumoto Rangaku talked about sounded really boring. Only when she has special feelings for this, she feels worthy of recollection. Qian Ye watched Matsumoto Rangaku talking non-stop while filling himself with wine. I just want her to get drunk soon. You listened to Matsumoto Rangaku's sad confession of the past and received a hidden event reward, Spiritual Power plus 100. Your spiritual power reaches the Bankai opening requirements, and you will receive a hidden event reward, Spiritual Power plus 100. Qian Ye, who was yawning, immediately became energetic after hearing the reward. Qian Ye has completed Shikai for 3 years. His spiritual power has surpassed that of the Captain Yamamoto Modonyasasai Shigekuni. But I haven't had any clue about Zanpakuto's ultimate, Bankai. Unexpectedly, when I was a listener of Matsumoto Rangaku. After receiving spiritual rewards, they met the Bankai opening requirements. Qian Ye took off the Zanshin knife at his waist, and then held it in his hand to feel it, wanting to discover the difference. But, I didn't feel the Zanpakuto in my hand, any difference from before. Qian Ye knew that he wanted to complete Bankai. You still need to enter the Zanpakuto space and communicate with Naomihime. So, Qian Ye put Zanpakuto down. I still wait for the trouble of Matsumoto Rangaku to be solved, find a quiet place where no one is disturbed, and then explore how to Bankai. Hey, Captain Qian Ye. Why have you kept silent? Matsumoto Rangaku, who was already obviously drunk, crouched on the wine table and crawled towards Qian Ye opposite her. Qian Ye said, oh, are you drunk? Matsumoto Rangaku lay down on the wine table and said, I am not drunk, Captain Qian Ye, please talk to me. I feel so uncomfortable now. In the end, Matsumoto Rangaku still spoke her heart. She felt really uncomfortable. Deputy Captain Matsumoto, actually. Matsumoto Rangaku interrupted Qian Ye and said, don't call me Deputy Captain Matsumoto, call me Rangaku. Okay. Qian Ye had helplessness on his face. The drunk was about the same as a child and needed to be coaxed. Rangaku, he is actually the captain of Ichimaru. Vomit. Matsumoto Rangaku suddenly vomited, but Qian Ye reacted quickly and avoided promptly, otherwise he would definitely be vomited. After Matsumoto Rangaku vomited, he fell asleep on the wine table. After Qian Ye paid for the drink, he left Yoshino Winery with Matsumoto Rangaku in his arms, and then returned to the 5th Division with Matsumoto Rangaku. It's already late at night. Qian Ye directly cast Shunpo on the way, so no one noticed him holding the drunk Matsumoto Rangaku. 10 minutes later, Qian Ye took Matsumoto Rangaku back to the 5th Division captain's room. At this time, Yamada Hanadura was still burying his head in helping Qian Ye and Matsumoto Rangaku with the 5th Division. After seeing Qian Ye holding Matsumoto Rangaku back, he hurriedly put down his work and stood up. Captain Qian Ye, I. Only then did Qian Ye know that it is no wonder Matsumoto Rangaku would sneak to the Technical Development Bureau to look for him. It turned out that he had caught a lamb for him. Qian Ye was not angry about this. After all, Qian Ye asked Yamada Hanadoro from Unohana Retsu, and wanted Yamada Hanadoro to help him do this. Go on. Come on, I am optimistic about you. Qian Ye returned to his bedroom holding Matsumoto Rangaku, and then threw Matsumoto Rangaku onto his bed. Subsequently, Qian Ye quietly left the 5th Division team. All the way to the outskirts. Shihuin Yoruichi's secret base. Qian Ye's Shikai was completed here. Qian Ye's Bankai also plans to be here. Qian Ye sat cross-legged, placed zanpakuto horizontally on his knees, and then pressed the knife with one hand and the knife's tail with the other. Afterwards, I closed my eyes and concentrated. Qian Ye zanpakuto space. Mickey, is it still the old rules? However, this is not the time to think about this. Subsequently, thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. This puzzled Qian Ye. Isn't the Bankai form the final form of zanpakuto? Why does Now Mim say that it is her true form? Now Mimi thought that Qian Ye would enter the Sword Zen mode for the first time after defeating her own conditions, and then came here to find her. Soon, Qian Ye entered the state of Sword Zen and came to the zanpakuto space. Bankai form is my true form. After Qian Ye came in, he found Now Mihime staring at him with excitement on his face. Then, the two entered the mind meditation space together. What Qian Ye has to do now is to finish Bankai first. Mickey, you seem to be more excited than me. It seems that Mickey now is also very excited and excited. You finally came. Qian Ye and Now Mim sat cross-legged, looking at each other's nose and nose. Nayuki nodded. Of course.